A black-haired boy was walking through the forest, and on his shoulder there was a strange black wolf. It was very small. Zen, when are we going to get back to Dad, to Konoha? Those who did not know this boy and the wolf would have thought that he had gone crazy and was talking to himself, but no. How should I know? We have been wandering in this damn forest for 2 years. I have questions about how you survived at 3 years old. The wolf's cry served as the boy's answer. Don't yell, my head hurts without you, and here you are. By the way, about my survival, if it weren't for you, I would have become dinner for a bear or some other predator a long time ago. The boy was indignant, and then he half-heartedly thanked the animal. What did you think? I am the great Zen. The wolf growled, sticking out his chest and grinning. I am already 5 years old, and I still haven't awakened the hearth. The black-haired man was upset. Don't be sad, ha ha. What if you awaken some kind of power? The wolf encouraged his friend, laughing. Very funny, Zen. How come Dad didn't think of putting a seal on me? The boy complained. Naruto, you saw his condition yourself. After your mother's death, the only thing that holds him back is that he is the Hokage and your father. And after your disappearance, the only thing that holds him back is that he is the head of Konoha. Zen explained. Okay, look, there's some kind of cave. Naruto shouted, pointing his finger towards the cave. How many caves have you seen in the last 2 years? And now you're shouting, look, a cave. The wolf shouted, trying to stay on the shoulder of the boy rushing towards the cave. Come on, maybe there's something there, for example, an animal that can withstand your control power. The boy said to his friend and entered the cave. You know yourself that such guys are not often met. In 2 years, we met only 0. Snorted the wolf. In 2 years, and today is a new day, suddenly, we'll get lucky. The Hokage's son was happy. Okay, I still can't talk you out of it. The wolf gave in and sat comfortably on the boy's shoulder. What kind of stone is this? Asked Naruto, pointing to an ordinary stone. My friend, should I hit you? Asked the wolf, as suddenly energy began to concentrate around the black-haired man. Naruto, here it is. The moment of truth. Your awakening. The joyful wolf shouted, watching the streams of concentrated blue energy, which is called chakra. The beast sat and watched his friend stand and examine himself, but then the energy turned black and the wolf felt that all life within a kilometer radius disappeared. He did not understand what happened, and then he saw Naruto fall to the ground. Naruto. Damn black-haired man, wake up, the wolf screamed, trying not to close his eyes. But he couldn't stay awake. This strange black chakra sucked out almost all of his chakra, and eventually the little animal passed out. Somewhere in the forest, in some camp, there was some kind of party. Ha ha, Captain, look at this kid and wolf I caught, shouted the bandit who had just entered his captain. Wow, he is from a noble family. Excellent, they will buy him for a high price. Giggled the captain of this bandit. Put shackles on him and put him in a cage, let him sit on his own. He ordered and the bandit who had just entered left. The bandit walked through the camp, and felt many eyes on his back. How annoying, he whispered and threw the black-haired boy into the cage, and after him the black wolf. A few moments later, the beast woke up. Naruto. Damn Namikaze. Wake up, I'm telling you. Whispered the wolf in the ear of his friend. Huh, Zen, where are we? Asked the awakened son of the Hokage. We've fallen into a trap. Although, the situation is not so bad if we have your chakra. The wolf smiled, looking at the face of his human friend, who did not understand what was being discussed. My chakra. Have I awakened? What's wrong with my chakra? The boy got excited, hearing the words of his pet. Your chakra sucks out the life force of everything it touches. The wolf explained. Chakra, not a technique, Namikaze asked. No, it's chakra. I don't know how it became like that, even I haven't heard of such chakra, and I'm sure you're the only one. Zen said. Well, shall we kick these bandits' asses? Naruto asked. Yeah, let's kick their asses, you control chakra so well. The wolf answered sarcastically. Oh, isn't that control? Naruto asked. He looked at the guard of the cages and focused on him, after that his eye flashed with black energy and the guard stopped breathing, and his body looked like a walking corpse, and then he fell and crumbled in the wind. Naruto, what was that? Zen asked, trying to comprehend what he had just seen. I don't know, some voice in my head told me to do that and I did it. Namikaze answered. A voice in my head. Do you have a second personality or what? The wolf asked. No, Zen, what second personality? The black-haired one was indignant. Okay, I'm kidding, the beast chuckled. Well, now let's go kill the rest. Asked the Hokage's son. Yeah, at this rate, while you're killing one, the rest will have already killed you. The wolf put the whole situation in order. And what do you suggest? Naruto asked. I suggest we run, the black-haired one said and began to increase in size. Sit down, this is my limit for now, I can't get any bigger, said the wolf of normal size. Wait, Zen, there's a map here, it looks like it leads to Konoha. Naruto stopped his friend. Take it and let's go, shouted Zen, watching as several bandits who hadn't yet seen the escape were walking towards them. Stop, the bandit saw the two friends and ran after them. Damn it, Zen cursed, threw the boy onto his back and ran as fast as he could. Zen, can you go slower? Namikaze shouted, trying to hold on to his friend. What slower? There's a horde of bandits chasing us. The wolf shouted and continued running silently. Okay, but if you lose me, it'll be your fault. Naruto answered and fell silent. Okay, I won't lose you. The wolf smiled and rushed on. Where did you say we need to run to get to Konoha? Asked the black-haired one. To the east, the boy answered and the wolf turned and then continued running. Aren't you tired of holding on there? Asked the little animal. No, aren't you tired of running? Answered and then asked Naruto. No, I'll run for a long time, the main thing is that you don't collapse from fatigue upon arrival. The wolf smiled. A few hours later. A wolf with a man on its back was approaching the gates of one of the 5 great hidden villages, Konohagakure no Sato. The eternal gate guards, Izuma and Kotetsu had seen more than once that dogs brought their owners back from missions, but this case was different. Not only was it not an ordinary dog approaching, but a real wolf, but there was also a black-haired kid on its back. Stop, who are you? The pair of guards jumped from their post. I am Naruto Namikaze. I have returned to my home village. The boy shouted, getting off the wolf's back. It can't be. The Hokage's son was kidnapped 2 years ago and is most likely already dead. Izuma did not believe it. How can I prove this? The black-haired kid asked. Come with us to the Hokage, he should recognize his son. Kotetsu said and went into the village, gesturing for the boy to follow him. The black-haired man and his pet followed Kotetsu, and Izuma jumped onto his post. Walking through the village, Naruto caught surprised glances, but not just one. Zen was also in the center of attention. In the case of the first, he looked like the kidnapped son of the Hokage, and the second, a real wolf. Kotetsu, who was walking ahead, stopped, and Namikaze, thinking about meeting his father, hit the guard. Here is the residence, said the shinobi and went on, opening the doors of the residence. He greeted the secretary, and then went straight to the Hokage's office. Naruto walked and looked at everything that was around. Several paintings, plants, the secretary. We've arrived. Kotetsu stopped, and then knocked on the door. Come in. The shinobi and the boy heard his voice. Sorry to bother you, Naruto said and walked into his father's office. Is it really you? Is it really you, Naruto? Minato shed a tear and then held out his hands. The Hokage's son, after a long separation, finally found himself in the warm embrace of his father, and he had been missing this for the past 2 years. Of course, do you not recognize your own son? Namikaze asked laughing. Of course, you were kidnapped 2 years ago. We thought that you were already watching over us from heaven, answered the 4th Hokage, whose eyes were streaming with tears of joy. But something confused the father of the black-haired boy. Naruto, are you an elf? Asked Minato, hugging his son. An elf? Who is that? Asked the boy. Apparently, you do not know about the changes in the world. Okay, sit down and I will tell you, said the Hokage, pointing to the chair in front of the Hokage's desk, and he himself sat down at his workplace. And what has changed? Asked the boy, taking a cup of tea. This is my tea. Okay. It started happening about half a year ago. The world underwent major changes, and no one knows the reasons. In general, people's appearance began to change, not everyone, of course, but it became hundreds of times less than usual. Some simply changed their skin color, others changed their ears and their chakra became much stronger, and they also began to hide much better. Some became larger in size and physically stronger, others generally changed their body to something more majestic than all these new species and ordinary people. Some got wings, and others got horns. The rest developed abilities like animals, as well as transformation into an animal. Minato explained. Wow, am I different now? Asked Naruto. Yes, you are an elf, answered the boy's father. An elf? Asked Namikaze Jr. Yes, now there is such a concept as race. There are 8 such races: ordinary people, elves, demons, angels, dwarves, orcs, dragons and werewolves. People are people, unremarkable. Elves are beautiful creatures with pointy ears, their lifespan has extended for many years, they are very arrogant and look down on others, although there are few of them, but they are damn strong, harmonious with nature, most often live in the forests. Demons are the true enemies of humanity. They are solid muscles, their physical strength is simply enormous, but they lack agility and dexterity. They are not very good at controlling chakra, so they temper their bodies to the limits. They have huge horns and claws, sharp fangs, and some have tails. Their skin color is purple and red. They live in scorched lands. Angels are almost people, but they have white wings, and they are also damn good at chakra control. They are not up to the level of elves, but they can be given second place. Dwarves are short people who have good physical strength. They are not distinguished in chakra control, but they can develop it well. They have completely different concepts of beauty and everything else. They live in the mountains. Orcs are the best in physical strength. After demons, they cannot cope with chakra, but there are some distinguished ones who can surpass even people, green-skinned lovers of battles and bloodshed. Dragons are something else, winged creatures that were described in ancient legends. Their magical abilities are great. They have very strong scales and they can take the form of a person. They live in the mountains, just like dwarves. Werewolves are people who can take the form of an animal that has chosen them. Most of them are wolves, but there are others. There was even one dragon that chose a werewolf. Minato told about all the properties and races. Wow, how far behind the world I am. Naruto thought, putting his chin up with his finger. Yes, but there is another race. Calling it a race is too much, of course, but their strength is simply amazing. Vampires are people who feed on blood. For the past 6 months, there has not been a single vampire, but it was written on the tablet that one day there will be one vampire and he will shed a lot of blood, and also absorb a lot of life energy. These creatures are immortal. Namikaze told about the last type. So that's how it is. And what tablet are we talking about? Asked the black-haired guy with a wolf on his lap. On the day when these changes began, there was a huge and bright beam in the sky, and when many people got to it, there was a sign with the description that I just told you. Answered the fourth. Did you remember all of this? Asked Naruto with eyes like 5 kopecks. Yes, I have a good memory. Minato smiled, and after a few moments he took on a serious look. Son, where have you been all these 2 years? The man asked his son. Just wandering around the forest. Answered Naruto. In the forest? And the predators? Asked the surprised Kage. And he protected me. Answered Namikaze Jr., pointing at the black wolf. Good afternoon, said Zen, and Minato's eyes almost fell out of their sockets. Are you a werewolf? Asked Namikaze Sr. What werewolf? I'm a wolf, shouted the black-furred one. A wolf that talks, amazing. Naruto's father was thinking about something. By the way, son, you now have a mother and a sister. The fourth one smiled. Whaat. Naruto shouted in surprise. So, your father now has a wife, and for you she is a mother, and also a younger sister. Minato said with a smile. Dad, what about mom? Don't you love her? The Hokage's son jumped up. I love her, of course, but we need to move on. The fourth Hokage was sad, remembering walks with Kushina, as well as how he found out that he would be a father. Okay, I understand, Naruto answered and sat down to continue drinking tea. Let's finish your work quickly and go home. The boy began to hurry his father. Don't rush, there's not much left, Minato said, looking at the last stack of papers that stretched to the ceiling. Yeah, I see how much, not much. 2 people were walking through one of the great 5 shinobi villages, black-haired. One might think that they were twins, though one was bigger than the other, twice as big, but the villagers already knew that their ruler was accompanied by his found son. They were happy for him, because many understood this happiness. And they were heading straight to the Hokage's mansion. A few minutes later they reached their destination and calmly entered the house. Darling, I'm home. The man's voice rang out throughout the house, and in response he heard his wife's voice approaching from the kitchen. Wash your hands and get to the table, she said, entering the hallway, not noticing the black-haired boy. Oh, and you must be. She noticed the boy. Yes, my name is Naruto Namikaze. Nice to meet you, Mom. The boy with the wolf on his head introduced himself, and the woman merged with the red walls of the hallway from such an address. I am Miko Namikaze. I am very glad to meet you. She smiled, and the boy's heart warmed from this smile, because he did not know the love of a mother. Daddy has come, the little girl screamed, running out of the room, and then, seeing the boy, she stopped. Daddy, who is this? The girl asked, examining the black-haired boy. This is your older brother. Minato smiled, and the girl, having heard everything her father said, rushed to hug her brother. Bladek, I've heard a lot about you. We finally met. She was happy. I'm glad to meet you too, Yui. Naruto smiled and stroked the girl's head. The woman, seeing the ears of her new son, was surprised and then asked a question. Naruto, are you an elf? I just found out today, Mom. Namikaze answered, and Zen let out a quiet growl and Yui noticed him. Who is this? She asked, pointing her finger at the sweetly snoring wolf on the top of her older brother's head. This is my friend, Zen. Naruto said, taking the wolf off his head. Good afternoon, my name is Zen. I am a wolf. The wolf introduced himself, standing on two paws and bowing. What a cutie. The 2-year-old girl was delighted at the sight, getting ready to cuddle the animal. Ahem. Please love and favor, the wolf said, expecting a test from the sister of his best friend. And by this time, the parents had already recovered from the shock of seeing a wolf who could talk and was also very polite. Are you a werewolf? Miko asked. No, I am a magical wolf, he said and gave himself up to the cuddles of his new girlfriend. I'm Yui Namikaze, let's be friends, the girl shouted with a smile. Of course we will, the wolf smiled, showing off his fangs. Okay, let's go have dinner. Naruto's new stepmother smiled and went to the kitchen. The rest of the family followed her, and poor Zen quietly ran away from Yui and jumped into Naruto's sweater. Dinner was quite interesting. Minato and Miko asked Namikaze Jr. about his life over the past 2 years, and little Yui imagined how she would play with Zen. A new day, new adventures and new hunger. Naruto got very hungry during the night, and a few seconds after waking up, he heard a rather loud rumbling, turned towards the source of this sound and saw a yawning black wolf. Looks like I'm not the only one hungry. Naruto smiled, and in response he heard only the laughter of his friend. He opened the door and quietly walked towards the stairs that led to the first floor. As he approached, he stepped on one board that creaked a little. When he stepped on it, half of the sleeping Konoha cursed him. Do you think they woke up? The boy asked the wolf. I don't know, Zen said, sitting on top of his friend's head. Approaching the kitchen, the boy heard louder and louder sounds in this room. He looked there and saw his stepmother, who was cooking something. And it seems she doesn't care. The black-haired one chuckled, remembering what happened a couple of minutes ago. Yes, how passionate she is about cooking, Naruto said and quietly made his way into the kitchen. A few minutes later, the woman finished and began to put everything on plates, and then turned around. She wanted to put the first 2 plates on the table, but something distracted her. Good morning, Naruto and Zen said, sitting at the table. The woman, not expecting this, was frightened and jumped up in fear and let go of the plates. Naruto, who noticed this, sniffing the smell of his mother's divine dish, quickly jumped up, caught the plates, put them on the floor, and took his falling mother by the hand and held her back. Be careful, he smiled. If only you hadn't scared me, she pouted, and then smiled and said to her son. Go wake up Minato and Yui, Miko said, and she continued to set the table. Okay, Namikaze Jr. answered and went to the second floor. Having risen, he opened the very first door, and behind it was his sister's room. Yui, wake up, the boy gently stroked his sister and tried to wake his sister in a quiet, affectionate voice. Good morning, Bladek, the girl smiled at her older brother. Good, Yui, go wash up and then come down to the kitchen, mom has already prepared everything. He told his sister and left the room. Next on the list was to wake up Minato. This was a legend-level task. Entering his parents' room, where there was a huge double bed, a wardrobe and 2 nightstands on either side of the bed with lamps on them, he saw his sleeping father. Well, Daddy, he shouted, jumping up to the ceiling and falling on his father. Good morning, Naruto. Minato opened his eyes and seeing his falling son, he closed his eyes again, only forever. A joke. He reacted quickly and dodged the enemy's attack, and then lightly hit his son. He, in turn, blocked, strengthened his hand with chakra and hit his father. Not bad, Minato smiled, standing behind his opponent. I'm as far from you as I am from Konoha from Kumo, squatting. Naruto said. Ha ha, in 4 years you might become my opponent. Minato laughed. Yes, I will surpass you in a year. Naruto smiled. If so, then I will give you the post of Hokage. Ha ha ha, the black-haired man's father laughed. Well, welcome the new Hokage. Namikaze Jr. rejoiced. It's still early, said the fourth, holding up his finger instructively. Yes, I'm only 5. The boy was upset. It's okay, let's go have breakfast, said the Hokage and left the room. Naruto followed him. When he came down, everyone was already having breakfast. I was going to eat first, but I ended up being the last, Naruto said, and then with an expression of, did I say that out loud? He looked at the faces of his family, and they in turn laughed. Sit down and eat, and then I'll see how developed you are, Minato said, pointing to an unoccupied chair. You'll be surprised, the boy convinced his father, sitting down at the chair. Yes, of course, Namikaze Sr. replied. Don't argue at the table. Miko said with a frightening look, but they in turn looked at her and giggled because she didn't seem scary, but cute. So that's how it is, she said, and the pressure increased, and Naruto dropped the spoon in surprise. Only Yui sat and ate calmly, thinking that her father and older brother were cripples. What is this? Asked the black-haired boy, looking at his mother. This is called pressure. She smiled and this force decreased and now the Hokage's son could breathe easy. Ha ha, Dad, how are you? Naruto asked before looking towards Minato. He saw his father calmly drinking coffee and sitting on a chair that broke through the floor. Wow. The boy was scared and made a conclusion for the future, not to break the rules. Okay, Naruto, I'll wait for you at 2 o'clock at the 44th training ground. Minato said. 44th? Asked the owner of the unusual chakra. Are there any differences? Asked Yui. Yes, the 44th training ground, the Forest of Death, as it was called. Zen answered them instead of the 4th. How do you know that? Asked the younger Namikaze. Just heard about it here. Answered the wolf and jumped on Naruto's head. All this time, from 8 in the morning until 2, Naruto sat in his room and meditated, and also tried to develop control, which he did well. He began to control the strength, speed, and volume of chakra at an incredible level. By the way, Naruto, it's time for you to go, said the awakened black-furred wolf, immediately looking at his watch. Oh, yeah, right. Zen, I have a question. Do all shinobi have a mysterious voice in their heads? Asked Naruto. A voice in my head. My friend, do you have schizophrenia? Asked the wolf. I don't know, something inside me tells me how and what to do, said the boy and ran to the 44th training ground, having learned its location from his mother before. Ha, Naruto, I didn't think you would call my thoughts, the voice in my head. The wolf laughed. When the Hokage's son came out, he sneezed. Who remembers me with a kind word? Said Naruto and ran to the training ground. A low silhouette that looked like an ordinary child was approaching the 44th training ground, also known as the Forest of Death. Son, I've been waiting for you for a long time, said Minato, watching his son get out of breath. Yeah, I ran as fast as I could, answered Naruto, trying to catch his breath because he hadn't run that much yet. Well, your mission is to hold out in the training ground for 10 minutes, the Hokage smiled. Are you kidding? Asked Naruto. Yeah, laughed the elder Namikaze. Your jokes aren't funny, the boy enlightened his father. Okay, you'll be the 4th participant for the weakest genin team in the Chunin exams, Minato said. Is that according to the rules? Naruto asked. Well, you're not that strong to destroy teams with a look, right? The Hokage asked. And you can kill, right? The boy asked. And can you? The surprised man asked. I don't know, but with my chakra, I won't be able to leave anyone alone, Naruto said and demonstrated his chakra skills on the nearby grass, directing his chakra into it. A few seconds later, the dust left by the grass was carried away by the airflow. Did you suck out life energy? Minato asked, even more surprised. Yes, but my range is limited. Only 2 meters. And also, my chakra only passes through the skin, and if there are no open places on a person, then I'm useless because I don't know the techniques, the boy explained. Got it, I'll teach you a few, but how about control? Asked the Hokage. Well, that's how it is, said the younger Namikaze, trying to create a shuriken from chakra in his hand, and after 10 minutes he succeeded. Quite good, for your age, praised his son the 4th. And where are the teams? Asked Naruto, remembering the purpose of his arrival here. Here they are, said Minato, nodding towards the approaching genin and examiner. And is this your son, Hokage-sama? Asked the girl, she looked to be 12 or 13 years old. Yes, Atsuka, this is him, the boy's father answered the blonde. What a cute face. She began to examine the boy. Atsuka, he is 5, said Minato. How sad. The girl was upset. Even if I were a little older, the difference is big. From 4 to 7 years, said the boy, examining the girl and not seeing a hint of bumps. Do I really look that old? I'm only 9, she was even more upset. 9. Naruto was surprised. Yes, Naruto, she is a genius in her generation. Even more brilliant than me, the Hokage explained to his son. Atsuka, from what I heard, let's be friends, Naruto asked, smiling sincerely. Of course we will be friends. My full name is Atsuka Senju, she shouted, hugging Naruto tighter than his father hugged him when they met. Atsuka, you're suffocating me with such a tight hug, the black-haired man complained, turning bluer and bluer with each passing second. Oh, I'm sorry, she smiled and let him go. My name is Naruto Namikaze, he said and smiled again. What kind of acquaintances are these? We came here to take an exam, and this girl. An examiner. Has all of Konoha's power really disappeared? The dissatisfied genin shouted. Quiet, Atsuka has a Mokuten and she is stronger than all of you put together, even if there are 4 of you, each. Minato said, which shocked everyone, and Naruto was not surprised, because he felt the chakra of the genome in her when she hugged him. Oh, Itachi, Izumi, Ryu. Naruto saw familiar faces from his past. Yes, it's Naruto. The 3 geniuses of the Uchiha clan smiled. Naruto, you're alive. Izumi rushed to hug her friend. Naruto, it's good to see you. Ryu smiled, shaking the hand of Namikaze, who was dying from lack of air. Naruto, are you here to watch us? Itachi asked. No, I'm participating. Naruto smiled, and the faces of all the genin immediately changed and they looked at the boy. Why are you looking like that? The boy was surprised. You, such a brat. The genin did not believe. Naruto, are you really that strong? Asked the Uchihas. Looks like you are, at least dad thinks so. The boy smiled, scratching the back of his head. Don't die there. Ryu, wished me luck. Yeah, and then I'll defeat you. Shouted the boy. Oh, yeah, are you the weakest team here? Asked Naruto. Ha 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 ha, laughed the 3 geniuses. Of course not, answered Itachi, still laughing. The weakest team in Konoha is them, said Ryu and pointed to the 3 weaklings. It felt like it hurt them even to breathe, and after touching such creatures, one can be surprised at the ease of victory. They? Asked Naruto. Yes, said Izumi. Why did I have to? A tear rolled down the boy's face. Ha ha, what is it? Asked Itachi. Yes, here is the 4th, my dad, he said that I will be the 4th participant of the weakest team. Answered Naruto. Bad luck, well, only a miracle will help you to escape. Izumi pitied her friend. And it's true. Namikaze was upset. Well, the essence of the 2nd stage is to get to the tower in the center in 3 days. There will be several scrolls in the forest. There are 12 teams, and 6 scrolls, a maximum of 6 teams will pass, a minimum of 1. Said Atsuka. 1? Asked an unknown genin. Yes, a team can collect 6 scrolls, thereby cutting off the passage of other teams, but if they do not reach the tower, then they can be killed by other teams. Are there any willing to leave the exam? Asked Senju. No, shouted the genin and one 5-year-old boy. Well, then, I will call you Weakling 1, Weakling 2 and Weakling 3. Said Naruto, approaching his team. How dare you? One weakling shouted and pounced on the boy. Whoa, easy, you might hurt yourself. Naruto was worried about his comrade. Pathetic boy. 3 weaklings answered at once. Okay, I'd rather be on my own than with such strongmen. Said the boy and ran into the forest. Ha ha, he thinks he'll survive. The weaklings laughed and entered the forest after the boy. Naruto ran through the forest, not through the trees, but through the forest. I wish I could run faster. The boy complained. Then strengthen your legs with chakra. The voice in his head said. That's right. The boy shouted and his legs were wrapped in black energy, and he himself ran much faster. With such a volume, you have good control. Try to strengthen yourself on a tree. Said the voice. Train during the exam. Are you kidding? Asked Naruto. No, try. Said the voice. Okay. Answered Namikaze and jumped on a tree, stood on it and it began to dry out. And what do you suggest? The black-haired man asked the voice. Try to turn off the effect of your chakra. Answered the voice. So what? Asked the Hokage's son. I don't know, maybe some kind of secret word. Laughed the voice. That's an idea, answered the boy. Well, let's try the word, life. Said the voice. Life, shouted Naruto and nothing changed. It didn't work, said the voice. I can see it myself. Shouted Naruto. So what are you going to do? Asked the voice. Nothing, I'm fine with this chakra. Said the boy and walked along the tree, and then, feeling confident, he ran. And how did you do that in a few minutes? The voice was surprised, but Naruto paid no attention and pushed off the branch of the first tree, then the second, third, and so on, and the branches behind him lost their color and shape. Look, a scroll, shouted an unknown genin. Don't shout, idiot, shouted back at him. Idiots, said the only girl on their team. And here's the scroll. The genin heard a voice, not understanding who was its source. A boy came out of the bushes, slowly walking towards the scroll, but saw a kunai flying towards him. So this is how you treat an innocent child. A tear flowed from Naruto's eye. You're that brat. Ha ha. The guy from the genin team laughed. I hope you enjoyed life. Naruto said and kicked the boy with his chakra-enhanced foot. What speed? Asked the frightened genin. Not just speed. The boy answered and the genin flew away from him, and then he began to tremble. A few seconds later his ashes scattered in the wind. "You creature!" shouted another genin, drawing his katana from its sheath and rushing at the boy, waving it. "Idiot," said the girl and saw the same outcome as with the first. "Only you were left," said Namikaze, looking at the girl. "Can I have mercy?" asked the girl, who realized that she would be in trouble if he was so angry. "Of course, don't worry, I'll help you get to the tower safely." Naruto smiled and extended his hand to her. "You don't have to tell me your name, we most likely won't meet again, because I'm in Konoha, and you're from the cloud," said the boy. "Okay," answered the girl and they went towards the tower. In a few hours they were halfway there. "I'm tired, maybe we should rest," asked the girl, watching the half-dead black-haired man jump through the trees. "How long do you need?" asked the boy. "A few hours," she answered. "Okay," he said, jumped to the ground and fell to the ground. And all the way he said he wasn't tired. The girl giggled. "I'm not tired, 2 hours will be enough for me," the boy said quietly and fell asleep. "Children need more sleep," she said, and then fell asleep altogether. And at that time, a group of bandits made their way into the forest. "I heard that guy is involved here," the bandit said to his comrade. "Yeah, we'll find him and kill him," another bandit said maliciously. They walked through the forest and heard snorting. They came out of the bushes and saw a boy lying under a tree, and that boy turned out to be their target. "So we got you," the bandit smiled. "Look, there's another one from the cloud. Tie them up, we'll think about what to do," one of the bandits said. He began to quietly and carefully tie up his victims. "Good morning," Naruto said, releasing his chakra towards the men. "Holy shit," one shouted when he saw that the third had turned into a corpse. "You can't get away from here," the boy said. He strengthened his body and ran at the bandits, hit one with one hand, and pulled his katana out of its sheath with the other. After that, he soaked the katana with chakra, but it began to crack. "Damn it," Namikaze cursed, threw away the bladed weapon and ran into hand-to-hand combat. "Ha ha, kid, are you serious?" asked the robber, preparing to beat Naruto, but he was not prepared for the fact that the black-haired chakra rushed towards him, and a few seconds later there was only a skull and crossbones. "This is how you attack little boys," Naruto said and went to wake up the girl, but saw that the sleepy kunoichi was sitting and looking at him. "Let's go to the tower," he said and they went on. This concludes the second stage. 3 teams and 1 kunoichi from the hidden cloud have passed. Atsuka Senju announced the results, and then began to talk about the third stage. "Well, Dad, how do you like it?" asked Naruto, running up to his father. "You're doing well, but where is your team?" asked Minato. "Well, they screwed me over at the beginning," answered Namikaze Jr. "I see. They made a major mistake." The fourth one smiled. "Yes, they had a better chance of surviving with me," said the black-haired one. "I think you can already be taught some techniques," said the Hokage. "So what will be first?" The boy got excited. "Shadow clone technique," answered Minato. "Oh," Naruto shouted, hinting that he wanted to teach something strong. "What kind of reaction?" "This is a forbidden technique, and it is forbidden because it will require too much chakra," said the fastest shinobi in the world, holding up his finger instructively. "Got it, I will try," Naruto shouted. "Okay, let's begin." Minato smiled. "Right here?" asked the younger Namikaze. "Why not?" "Well then, let's begin the explanation. Like this," said the fourth one, after which he folded his fingers in the shape of a cross and a clone appeared next to him. The spectators turned their gaze to the Hokage and his son. "Got it, Dad," Naruto said, repeating everything exactly as his father said, and all the free space was filled with clones of the boy. The spectators, who had just seen the black-haired man try to make a clone, first laughed, and then their eyes widened to inexplicable sizes. "How much chakra do you have?" Minato asked, standing among the 30 clones. Several flashes flew into the building. When the dust cleared, everyone saw elves. They were from the nobility. "Who are you to burst in like that?" The Konoha shinobi asked the 3 newcomers, but they passed by him without paying a single bit of attention. They approached Naruto and stopped. "Who are you?" the boy asked. The elves knelt down in front of him. "We welcome you, your highness." "We welcome you, your highness," said the elf, who looked more important than all, dressed in a black cloak, golden robes and black boots. He was a blue-eyed blonde with long, loose hair. The other 2 looked the same, however, the robes were not golden, but silver. "Please stand up, I'm embarrassed." Naruto looked at them, not understanding what was happening. "Yes sir, your majesty," said the elves and straightened up. "Please tell me when I became your majesty." asked Namikaze, not remembering the moments when he met the same elves as he, except for what was happening now. The thing is that the elf fortune teller said that you should have the blood of a true elf, but this is not certain. I will divulge other information without unnecessary ears, said the main one of the elves. Fortuneteller. A true elf. Sorry, guys, but I don't understand anything. The son of the fourth scratched his head, laughing absurdly. A true elf is one whose blood is the purest of all. Now we must go and test it, the elf replied. Okay, let's go and see, said the black-haired boy and followed the elf. They followed the exit of the building and then went out. In the windows, you could see how an elf stood in the center and took Naruto's hand, and the other elves took his shoulder and they disappeared. Is this a kidnapping? Asked Minato, not understanding what just happened. Is it worse than losing Konoha? It's good that these elves did not come with evil intentions, said one of the Konoha shinobi present there. And that's true, if they had attacked, Konoha would have long since ceased to exist. Okay, we'll wait, said Minato and began to listen to Atsuki's words, worried about his son, but not showing it to others. Naruto and the three elves rushed through space. Naruto thought that they were transported somewhere outside the village, but when he looked around, he realized that he was wrong. Very much so. They found themselves near a gate that led to some city located in a huge, dense forest. The city was surrounded by a river, the flow of which was directed only in one direction, and the bridge was not very large, but strong, by appearance. And further, after the river there was a forest, among the trees of which towers were noticeable. After that, the boy decided to check if this village had protection, in the form of a barrier. He ran behind the bridge, and there, having passed the towers, his body was distorted in a certain place and he realized that he had passed the barrier. He ran to the elves, who were already waiting for him. What's the point of such a weak barrier and such noticeable towers? And shinobi can jump over the river? Asked Naruto. Ha ha ha, the river is just for beauty, said one of the previously silent elves. And the towers and the barrier? The boy asked again, shortening the question a little. The towers are visible only to the eye of an elf, and for other races they are difficult to detect. The barrier can also only let an elf through, and it will withstand the onslaught of 5 kage of the current generation and the previous ones. The elf in gold explained to his possible king. What kind of master do you need to be to make something like this? The boy thought. Yes, this elf was the greatest, he provided protection for this city and everyone respects him very much. The elf smiled and opened the gate. As soon as the gate to the city opened, Naruto saw many people like him, some had longer ears, others, sharper. The women of this race looked quite attractive, and the men exuded strength, more than enough. The city itself looked incredibly beautiful, wooden buildings made in a style unknown to the boy, as well as a large fountain at the end of the alley, many small streets, shops and all the residents had a smile on their faces. How beautiful it is here. The boy looked lost in thought, walking along the alley. Yes, your majesty, it really is incredibly beautiful here, said the elf and heard a noise behind him, reminiscent of a fall. The blonde turned around and saw a black-haired boy and a blue-eyed, white-haired girl who had fallen opposite him. Oh, sorry, I didn't notice you, smiled the younger Namikaze, holding out his hand to her. Watch where you're going, I am a noble elf, Kagaya Utsutsuki, shouted the girl, still sitting. Yes, I'm glad, Naruto Namikaze's name. Get up, or you'll catch a cold, answered the still smiling potential ruler of the elves. Peef, what a fool you are, shouted the white-haired girl, who nevertheless accepted Naruto's help. She turned around and saw a familiar face. It was clear from her face that he was an important person, and she herself. Good afternoon, Uncle Lihar, bowed to the elf dressed in golden robes. Hello, little Kagaya, I told you that I don't need to be worshipped, you know that I can't stand that. Smiled the elf who brought Naruto to this city. Uncle, is he with you? And who is this? Asked Kagaya, examining Namikaze, and then suddenly blushed. Yes, perhaps tonight you will find out who it is, answered the elf. He continued walking, gesturing for Naruto to follow him. The Otsutsuki waved at them and ran on. And when will we arrive? Asked the tired Naruto. It's still about 10 minutes to the palace, said the elf. Is this city really that big? Asked Naruto. Of course, it's comparable to 10 Konohas, answered the blonde. 1, 2, 3, 10, the boy shouted in surprise. Quiet, don't shout, yes. With 10, answered the elf, not wanting to attract unnecessary attention. Wow, Namikaze was surprised and they continued on their way. By the way, where are the other 2 elves? Asked the boy. They left when we entered the city, said Likar and walked through the palace, as if he knew it like the back of his hand. And this palace is not small in size, said Naruto, walking and examining this mansion. Yes, the ruling ruler lives here, but there is none, so now it is used exclusively for work. So much space, even the Hokage's mansion is several times smaller. Naruto was surprised by everything he saw. We have arrived, said the elf, stopping near the door. Warn me what is behind this door, asked the boy. You will see, answered the long-haired one and opened the doors. And here is our true elf, laughed some elf, similar to the evil scientists from the stories of Zen. Well, let's run some tests. Everything is ready, said the four-eyed one. When will the results be ready? Asked Likar. By evening, definitely, answered the scientist, and the elf, together with Naruto, left the room. Lihar, what are we going to do? Asked Naruto. Your Highness, maybe I can train you, asked the elf. What? Asked Namikaze. Elves are the best at managing chakra, and they are also very good in other areas. I want to offer you a lightning elemental technique. You know your elements, right? Asked the blonde. No, I don't know. The boy was upset. It's okay, I always have chakra sheets hidden for such cases, said the elf, opening a small spatial gap and taking out 3 square sheets. Thank you, said Naruto and took the sheets. He stood and looked at them for a long time, and then, nevertheless, decided to ask. Lihar, what should we do with them? Asked Naruto with a slight blush. Your Highness, feed the chakra into the sheet, said Lihar. The boy fed his chakra into the sheet. For a while nothing happened. So, you don't have. Likar had just started speaking when the leaf shrank and black lightning started to strike around him. You can stop feeding, Likar said. Lightning element, that's quite curious, I've never seen anything like that before. The elf thought. It's okay, Likar, everything happens for the first time, let's check another leaf. Naruto said and took another leaf and started feeding chakra. The same one, right after the start, began to crumble into black dust. An improved genome, and an unknown kind of one at that. The blonde was surprised. An improved genome? The boy asked. Yes, power transmitted through blood or by mixing the main natural elements. The improved genome near the eyes is Dujutsu. The elf explained. I see, so I mixed 2 elements. Namikaze asked. No, this is some special case. Likar answered. Okay, I'll help with lightning, and you can only develop the genome alone. Even among the 8 races, the only user of this power is you, your majesty, said the elf. Okay, let's learn lightning, said Naruto. Yes, for some time I studied with the Raikage and Hitaki Kakashi, and some lightning masters. Let's start with something simple. Lightning cover on a certain part of the body, on the hand, said the elf, and his hand began to be covered with blue energy that sparkled with lightning. Yes, it's easy, shouted the black-haired one and covered his hand with chakra, but it was blurry. Not like me, smiled the elf. If your chakra has a sharper ending, then it's okay, said Naruto. Okay, let's check, said the elf and approached the mannequins. Good. Lihar hit the dummy standing in front of him and it lost its head, as if an elf was running a knife through butter, and Naruto's dummy received a blow, strong but not fatal damage, and the chakra dissipated. So what, is there a difference? Lihar asked, smiling. Yes, it does. The boy was upset. If you train hard, you can do even better. The elf encouraged the boy. Then I will train, and then I will surpass you. The boy smiled. I do not doubt you. The elf answered. Your Majesty, can you strengthen the flow of your chakra and try to move it only in one direction, and not like blood? The elf asked, watching the black-haired man. Okay, I'll try, Naruto said, and his chakra became denser, and beads of cold sweat appeared on his face. Okay, hit the dummy, the blonde shouted. The boy quickly ran up, swung at the dummy, and black lightning struck in all directions and one of the lightning hit the target. It took off half his leg, and then Naruto hit and there was no trace left of the dummy. Likar came up and looked to see if his king was alive. He was alive, but the fact that he had passed out was not encouraging. Ah, Likar. Good morning, I suppose. Namikaze opened his eyes. Good morning, your majesty. Are you okay? Asked the long-haired one. Yes, the boy answered. I have a question. Have you always had red eyes? Asked the elf. Yes, they have been red since birth, answered the 5-year-old boy. The test results have arrived, the elf smiled. Yes, and how? The Hokage's son became interested. Let's go, said the elf and waited for the boy to get out of bed, and then follow him. Those walking to some place unknown to Naruto did not utter a word, but the boy decided to speak first. Likar, what about that hand cover? Did I cut off his head? Asked Naruto. Even better, but you still need to learn to control the chakra, so I do not advise using it like that. For now, we will learn ordinary techniques," said Likar. "Got it, I will wait for your instructions." He smiled. "Yes sir, your majesty," said the elf and stopped in front of the doors. He opened them, and then took the Hokage's son and put him on his shoulders. A large crowd formed in front of the palace, apparently summoned earlier. The blonde rose with the help of the air element and began to speak. "Finally, what we have all been waiting for has happened. The true elf has been found. We greet the king, Naruto Namikaze." The elf shouted. "Hooray!" The crowd roared, and Naruto sat on the shoulders of the long-haired man and did not understand anything. "Congratulations on the beginning of the reign, your majesty." Likar congratulated the boy. "Likar, what's going on?" asked Namikaze. "Well, you are the first true one found out of all 8 races. There are 7 more to find, so you need to become stronger quickly. Your secretary will take over the management for now, and I and other elves will do the training." Lihar said all the plans for the future. "And what, the secretary will always be responsible for the policy?" asked Naruto. "No, Eldrin will teach you," answered the Golden One. "Eldrin is a secretary." "Okay, and what about the other true ones?" asked the boy. "There are none, for now," answered the blonde. "Got it. Your majesty, a girl named Kagaya Otsutsuki wants to train with me. Do you mind if she trains with you? Or should I set aside some time for her? Or should I refuse?" asked the elf. "Definitely not refusing. Setting aside time won't do, there's not much of it anyway. It's better to train together, it's more fun together, and you can also share your guesses about the new technique," answered Naruto. "Okay, then I'll go get her," warned Likar. "Yes, Lahir, address me informally, or just Naruto," answered Namikaze with an ominous look. "Okay, Naruto," smiled the elf and left the room. Naruto's thoughts. Likar seemed to say that with shadow clones my training would speed up. I hope this is true. I created several clones and we began to study the technique that Likar showed me. Beast of Lightning, concentrate lightning, and then release it in the form of a wolf, which rushes at the enemy at high speed. Well, let's get started. We began to build the furnaces previously shown by the blonde, and then we did everything as my new friend, who is more than 10 times older than me, explained to me. He is because the elf began to look young again, and elves live from 5,000 to immortality, in my fanfic. The clones gradually began to release their wolves, and the result upset me a little. You can't even call such beasts a cat. They were small, and after running only 2 meters, they dissipated. All the clones, of which there were 6 and I was the 7th, approached the dummy and performed the technique. The combat power was at the highest level. I thought that one would cripple this dummy, but the result was much worse. Even all 7 at once crippled less than I expected from one. I decided that it was already possible to dispel the clones. I did it and I gained more experience and information, but fatigue also showed up a little. I created 3 more clones and we tried to repeat the technique. She became much bigger, and she already runs about 4 meters, but she is far from the wolf, and the teacher says that the real one runs at least 100. They crashed into the dummy and 4 immediately tore off his leg. This made me happy. I dispelled the clones and fell down exhausted, and at that moment Kagaya and Lihar already arrived. The end. Naruto's thoughts. Oh, Lihar, Kagaya. Naruto smiled, trying to get up. Did you get injured by the dummy? The girl laughed. Ha ha, funny joke. The black-haired man laughed, falling again. Yours. Lihar began to speak, when Namikaze interrupted him. Lihar, I told you so. The boy shouted. Naruto, how are you? Asked the elf, helping the red-eyed man to get up. Well, the chakra depletion is small, but I developed this technique from the level of mouse to the level of cat. The Hokage's son laughed. Although it is one of the weakest in my arsenal, but when you can make a normal wolf, it will become useful, and so see, rank, there are stronger ones. Said Likar. Okay, I'll sit and watch Kagaya's training, said the boy, leaning against the wall, and then sitting down. Kagaya, do you know your elements? Asked Likar. No, I don't know. The girl was sad. All her elements were the same as Naruto's, but the color was different. Lightning was white, as was the genome. Maybe fate brought you together. The blonde asked, laughing. Perhaps, thought the black-haired one. What are you saying? Asked Kagaya, whose face was covered in color. We are only 5, it is still early. Naruto gave his verdict, after which he received a blow to the head from Otsutsuki. For what? He asked. For everything you said earlier. She puffed out her cheeks. Got it. The boy answered briefly and began to watch Likar laugh at this situation. Oh. The elf laughed, and then saw that the true elf's gaze was directed at him. In general, Kagaya, you will learn the same technique as Naruto. A beast made of lightning. Likar said, after which he folded the seals and pointed his hand at the dummy. A wolf burst out of it, which was created from lightning. It destroyed the dummy and dissipated. That's it, the elf said after the demonstration, and the girl listened attentively all this time. Got it, she answered and began to fold the seals, and then released the same beast as Naruto at the beginning of his training. Why is he so weak? The girl asked. Because you are using it for the first time and have just started training. Likar smiled. Is there a way to speed up the training? She asked. Yes, can you make shadow clones? The elf asked. Of course. The girl answered and repeated everything after Naruto, as if she was watching him, and then, fell off her feet from fatigue and fell asleep. The long-haired man looked at Naruto, who was already asleep. You should improve your relationship, otherwise you are too similar. The elf said and put Kagaya next to the boy, and she leaned on him and, resting her head on his shoulder, continued to sleep. Likar was leaving the room, but when he opened the door, he saw that the walls were slightly glowing. He turned around and saw that Naruto and Kagaya's chakra was synchronizing. So, you are still suitable for each other. In such thoughts, he left the room. Lihar decided to go in and watch the scandal that Kagaya would make, but when he entered the room he saw peacefully snoring children. Hey, Naruto, Kagaya, wake up. The blonde began to shake them. Good morning, they said, opening their eyes. Good day, today you will improve your technique a little, and also, you will learn to fight with weapons. What would you like to choose? Asked the long-haired one. I would like to choose a sword for myself, a katana. Answered Naruto. Me too, said Kagaya. Then, shall we go to the armory, look at the weapons that are there? Suggested the old man. Yes, we agree. The children said in unison and they went to the arsenal, talking on the way about why exactly a katana. They went into the armory and went to the stands, above which hung the sign, katana. There is nothing I like here, said Naruto, examining all the katanas, and there were quite a few of them. Yes, there is none, the white-haired girl repeated after her friend. Likar, is there a blacksmith in the city? Asked the boy. Of course, the best blacksmith in the whole world. Recently, the best materials were brought to his forge. I don't think he made a weapon from them so quickly. The elf answered. Well, then let's go and place an order. How long will it take to forge it? Asked the elf king. If 2 katanas, then up to 6 o'clock. Answered the adult. Then tell us everything we need to know. Said Naruto and they left the palace, and then followed Likar to the forge. After 10 minutes of walking, they finally arrived at the forge. Good morning, old man. Likar greeted his friend. Ho ho, what people? The blacksmith beamed. And who do we have here? Really, the young king and Lady Otsutsuki. The owner of the forge smiled. Yes sir, I am Naruto Namikaze, just call me Naruto. And I am Roger, the blacksmith answered the boy. And what do you want? Asked Roger. I would like a katana tied to my blood, you know how to make one, right? Asked the black-haired man. Of course, I will select the best material. What style do you want? Asked the blacksmith. Perhaps a completely black blade, a white handle, and a hieroglyph on the blade, life. And young lady, what blade do you want? Asked Roger. A white blade, a black handle and a hieroglyph, on the blade, death. Answered the blue-eyed one. Will be done in the shortest possible time, one blade will take up to 3 hours. Okay, old man, we will wait. Said Likar and went to tell the children all the basics, as well as several styles. Remember the main thing, the blade is an extension of your limb. Finished Likar, when the duo was already falling asleep. There it is, life and death, come and drip your blood on them, shouted Roger. The children immediately perked up and stood up, quickly ran to Roger and saw a pair of sheaths, one was completely black, and the other was completely white. Naruto took the black sheath and took out a blade that was slightly too big for him, cut his palm and the shining blade began to glow red. Kagaya took the white sheath, took out a blade that was even bigger for her, so she could barely hold it, she slightly cut her finger and its blade began to glow blue. Here is the beginning of life and death. Lihar, it seems to me these katanas are too big for us. Naruto said and handed the sheath with his katana to the blonde. Lihar, can you carry mine too? Asked Kagaya, dragging the sheath along the ground, in which the katana was. Of course, Kagaya, you can. The elf answered with a smile and took the second sheath with a katana. And how will we learn if they are too big? Asked the girl. Let's take 2 wooden swords that fit your height, said the long-haired one. With wooden ones. And who will we fight? Asked the boy walking in front of everyone. With me, of course. answered the elf with a smile on his face, and Naruto, turning around, looked at him in horror. Against you. You will also be on a wooden one, right? The Elf King was scared, imagining how Kagaya was giving him first aid for his wounds. Of course, with a wooden one, I will not hit hard, for now. Smiled the elf and they walked on in silence. Well, attack, said Lihar and took a fighting stance. We will not give in, shouted Naruto, strengthened his legs with chakra and fell. I told you, we do not use chakra. Smiled the elf. Naruto, you are a stupid head. Sighed Kagaya, watching Naruto try to get up, covering his legs and arms with chakra. Okay, I won't do it anymore, Namikaze said and stopped using chakra. He got up safely and ran at his maximum speed, very slow for Lihar, but for a 5-year-old it was on the level of greatness. Kagaya ran after him. The boy ran up to the elf almost point blank and started attacking, but the long-haired one blocked or parried everything. Naruto started attacking harder and made his mentor's task more difficult, but not much. Kagaya ran up and also started attacking. Naruto lunged and hit the lower part of the body, and Lihar jumped up to dodge. Kagaya realized what her friend wanted and quickly made a sweep, but the elf jumped back and stood with a smile again and watched as Naruto and Kagaya looked at him with a murderous look, from which he became a little more serious. It was his turn to attack. He quickly ran at the children and began to push them back, and they tried to block. Sometimes it worked, and sometimes they got hit by the mentor. As a result they ran into a wall and lost their weapons with a light swing of Likar's sword. Yeah, we're still far from you. Naruto was disappointed, having learned his level of strength without any chakra. Yeah, we'll try harder, and then together we'll be able to defeat you, and then alone. Kagaya smiled. I believe in you too, don't let me down. The elf answered. Lihar, how are we going to train next? The black-haired boy asked. I want to train you physically, for starters, and then you'll perfectly strengthen your chakra channels and we'll start teaching you techniques from B rank all the way up to S rank, and you'll also start coming up with techniques for your shared genome. The blonde boy explained his training plan for the near future. Got it, Lihar, we'll try. The children shouted. So, for starters, you must run the entire palace twice equal to 4 laps on the training ground, do 10 push-ups and 20 squats, learn to pull yourself up and fight. Lihar said. Okay, Lihar. The children shouted and started running. After 20 minutes, the out-of-breath kids stopped and started to rest. What rest? Quickly, the second lap. The blonde urged them on. What do you mean? Do you want us to die? The young elves asked. Do you think the enemy will give you time to rest? Asked Likar. Okay, Likar, good. Naruto answered and ran. The girl sighed and ran after him. After another 40 minutes, they crawled to the end point. Hooray! Naruto whispered and fell asleep. Well, endurance is useless, but perseverance is great. Likar looked at the boy, and then saw that Kagaya was sleeping on his back. And besides, he cares about this girl. Has the true ruler of the dragons really been found? Asked a huge, winged creature, very similar to a lizard, at another one of the same, though of a different color. Yes, soon all the races will fall, the dragons will emerge victorious in this massacre. True, he is only 12. Answered the other. Do not forget that the elves also found their ruler, but they say that the boy is only 5 years old. It's just a comedy, laughed one of the dragons. Shut up. A dragon of enormous size entered the cave, probably surpassing these two in strength, because they were afraid of him. Old man, what is it? Asked the frightened dragon. All the races actively began to find their rulers, and among the small and weak people, he woke up right in the alley. The elder of the dragons was angry. It's okay, elder, we will train our ruler to such a state that he will be able to destroy cities with just his breath. Another dragon reassured the elder. Naruto, how are you? Asked Likar of the awakened boy. My muscles hurt, I will soon throw away my limbs. Answered the black-haired one. How is Kagaya? He jumped up sharply. Kagaya, did something happen to her? Asked the elf. Of course, she passed out right in the middle of her run. Shouted Naruto. Don't be afraid, Naruto, Kagaya is simply overtired. Smiled Likar, watching his king's anxiety. By the way, Likar, is there any news from the outside world? Asked Namikaze. Yes, Naruto, all the true ones have been found. Answered the elf in golden robes. Well, that's bad. Are they old already? Asked the boy. No, they are 4 to 7 years older than you. Answered Likar. Got it, I'm only 5. I need to train harder to eliminate the age difference and then I will become the strongest true one and the strongest in the whole world. The red-eyed man shouted grandiosely. Yes, that's right, you need to train harder. Shouted the elf. Then, I won't slack off. Instruct me. Likar, what is this shadow? The black-haired boy asked one of his companions, looking at the huge shadow under his feet. Naruto, a dragon. It's a dragon, the elf shouted, watching a black, gigantic dragon fly above them. A dragon? Aren't they hiding? Asked Kagaya. It seems that no, the main thing is to be quiet. The blonde said to his king and his friend. Elves, I feel you. Today you will die. The dragon roared. Lihar, what are we going to do? We're not going to die, are we? Asked the red-eyed one. No, if you use even an unfinished, then you should scare him. Answered the long-haired one. Will you take us to rest after, Asked Naruto. Yes, you need to improve, more, and then you will be able to destroy cities and not pass out. Explained Lihar. I see, thought the boy. Okay, let's clean his ass already. The girl shouted grandly. Okay, I'll distract him. Lihar said and ran outside, taking his katana in his hands and bringing the dragon closer. You're finished, elf. The dragon said and breathed out his flame. The elf put up a barrier and quickly ran to Naruto and Kagaya, taking them and throwing them straight at the dragon. He began to wait. Naruto took his girlfriend's tender hand with one hand, and then put his other hand to the side. Kagaya did the same. They began to accumulate chakra on their palms while still in the barrier, in flight, and then they flew out and shouted. Explosion of life and death. The children shouted in unison, and within a radius of several meters everything lit up in black and white. Everything dissipated and Lihar saw the children lying on the dragon and how this giant lizard passed out. On the right side, where Naruto was reaching his hand, everything dried up. There was nothing alive, just black trees that could fall apart from a gust of wind and scattered patches of land that were previously covered with grass, and now only dust carried away by air currents, and on the left side, where Kagaya was reaching, everything flourished. There were more trees, birds were flying, there was grass, flowers grew from the power of the baby's energy. I didn't think that such an effect would happen in nature. The elf was surprised, taking the children and quickly disappearing from the scene. After using the technique of combined genomes, the children slept for 4 days, and then returned to training. A month later, they had completely mastered the lightning beast and strengthened their chakra channels, and began to study a new technique, the lightning chain. They create a clone, and then both form charges in their hand and connect them, creating something like a chain. Naruto, have you forgotten? Kagaya asked her friend. Of course I haven't forgotten, Kagaya. It's your birthday tomorrow and I'll definitely come to it. Naruto answered, tired of the white-haired girl's reminders. Well, then I'm going. The girl smiled sweetly and left the palace. How much trouble she is. Naruto sighed, opening a small box, and then taking out another one. In the small box was a ring, silver. It was made at the highest level. Roger tried hard. In the center was a black crystal, and around it were small sapphires gathered to form a circle. Around the sapphires was a circle of marble. The whole structure resembled an eye, and the silver fangs coming from the sides of the ring completed the picture. The dragon's eye, that's what Roger and I called it. The boy looked at the gift for his girlfriend. And the second one is a mirror? Asked Lahir, who entered the room. No, my friend, it's a necklace. The boy answered, carefully taking the necklace in his hands. It was smelted of gold, a small chain, in the center of which a glowing blue diamond was inserted. And how did she deserve this? Asked the elf. Because she is my friend. Answered Naruto. Interesting, thought the elf. Okay, Lihar, I'm going to bed, the main thing is not to oversleep, or there will be an explosion. Smiling, shouted the true elf and ran away. Yes, tomorrow is our Kagaya's birthday. Lihar went to his room, thinking that tomorrow he would get drunk to the point of bursting. Naruto, you told me not to oversleep, but you're still sleeping. The blonde boy shouted at the boy. Lihar, 5 minutes, the sleeping Namikaze answered. What 5 minutes? It's already 4 in the evening, and we're going to Kagaya's for 5. The long-haired boy shouted. What? Naruto yelled. 2. Get ready quickly. Lihar shouted throughout the palace. The 9th of August, evening. In one of the huge buildings, which were the houses of the great elf families, a celebration was currently taking place. Today, the young lady of the Otsutsuki clan turned 6 years old. The true elf, Naruto Namikaze, as well as his protector and one of the strongest elves, Lihar, have arrived. Some old man, apparently the butler of the Otsutsuki family, entered the building, and Naruto and Lihar followed him. Your Majesty, this is an honor for us. Kagaya's father approached with these words and bowed. It's not necessary, I am Kagaya's friend, and I don't like being bowed to. The boy objected. Okay, Your Majesty. The head of the Otsutsuki clan answered. Namikaze saw his friend and quickly ran up to her. Happy birthday, Kagaya, Naruto shouted, hugging his girlfriend. A servant came up to him and handed him a black and blue box, which the boy gave to Kagaya. The girl opened it and saw a very beautiful ring, very reminiscent of the eye of the dragon, who almost ate them a month ago. Thank you, Naruto. The girl smiled, putting the ring on her finger. Everyone was having fun, dancing, drinking and eating, giving gifts to the young lady of the Otsutsuki clan and watching the graceful dance of Naruto and Kagaya. Naruto, what will you do if the dragons attack all at once? Asked the girl. I'll watch their attempts to break the barrier. The boy answered with a smile. Ha ha, but seriously, is there anyone who is capable of this? The white-haired girl thought. Kagaya, I have another gift. Naruto said, taking out a white box from nowhere. He opened it and there was a necklace. Wow. The girl admired the beauty of the jewelry. Let me put it on. Namikaze asked. The blue-eyed girl leaned towards him and he put the necklace on her neck. This diamond complements the beauty of your eyes. The boy smiled. Does our king really know how to give compliments? Otsutsuki was surprised. Ha ha, how funny. The boy answered sacramentally. We will become stronger. 2 years later, October 10th. Naruto, today you turn 8 years old. Laughed Likar. Yes, Likar, I should go to the academy, but I am the king of the elves, who only recently began to wave his katana, life. The boy glanced sideways at the elf. The race of angels began to disappear, only a few hundred and a true angel remained, perhaps they will soon fall. After them, demons, then gnomes, orcs, humans, werewolves, and then, perhaps, elves. Likar thought about current events. Likar, the elves will not fall, we can stand against the dragons. The boy smiled. Maybe, but there are 2 more of them, now there are 13 of them instead of 11. And a true dragon is equal in strength to 3 ordinary ones, we are no match for him in a one-on-one fight, although we can somehow deal with ordinary dragons, it is not for nothing that we have a special lightning technique. The elf began to talk about dragons and the lightning technique. Yes, the lightning of the gods will be even stronger than Kirin and Reikiri combined. The black-haired one answered. What did you think? There is such power there that you will lay down a dragon with this technique alone. The blonde one confirmed. Yes, it is true, I have not mastered it yet. My black lightning is too strong. I have almost learned to control the power of chakra, but I have not learned to control the power of black lightning. Damn it, the elf king was saying. Ha, Kagaya has also almost mastered chakra, but she is a little weaker than you in lightning, perhaps you will even surpass me, in about 2 years. Thought Lahir. Lihar, with a full explosion of death and life, nothing will be left of you. Ha ha ha, the red-eyed man laughed. Are you going to use it on me? The elf was scared. No, besides, Kagaya is not around. The boy smiled. Naruto, I want to tell you, when you turn 12, I will teach you the limelight. The long-haired man warned his king. Hooray! It will be difficult, so much chakra, and there are clones. The true elf thought, rubbing his chin. Yes, but for now, you must master Kirin, Reikiri and lightning of the gods. Until the end, said Lihar. Yes, Kagaya overtook me in Kirin, which she had already learned, and I overtook her in Reikiri, because almost all her attention was focused on the Thunder Dragon. Ha ha ha, Naruto supported his words with an ominous laugh. Naruto, the main thing you should not forget is that Kirin is a very powerful technique for long distances, and to use Reikiri, you need to get closer. The elf explained to the boy again. Yes, my speed is good, it's not for nothing that I am the son of the yellow lightning of Konoha. The red-eyed boy, resembling an Uchiha in appearance, smiled. By the way, how is Konoha? The boy asked. Sir, the hidden shinobi villages were destroyed by dragons. The soldier burst into the room. Konoha, what about Konoha? The black-haired man asked. Your Majesty, Konoha was also destroyed, no survivors were found. The subordinate answered. How is that possible? The elf king was sad. Naruto, now is not the time. You need to train and then you will be able to destroy dragons alone. The blonde said. Okay, Lihar, you need to learn these S-rank techniques as soon as possible and destroy the dragons. Naruto shouted. The boy created more than 10 clones and they all began to form lightning in their hands. They began to increase the power of the lightning and several of them already lost control and destroyed themselves, and the knowledge and fatigue were transferred to the original. And after a few seconds, the techniques simply disappeared. Not enough chakra, it is better to train with 2 clones, this is my limit. The tired boy smiled. Naruto, the main thing is not to overexert yourself, answered the elf elder. Of course, Lihar, I will not. Your Majesty, orcs and demons have approached our domain. The soldier burst into the room again. Such a stir on my birthday. Why do I have this? The boy complained. Naruto, now is not the time to complain. I will go after Kagaya, said Lihar. Okay, Lihar, I will wait for you at the entrance to the barrier, answered the black-haired man. The Elf King ran out of the palace and ran to the exit of the city. He ran calmly, because he knew that the barrier would not fall. Well, life, now we will test you in a real fight, the boy said with a smile, hanging the sheath with the katana on his back. Naruto, we need to negotiate first. The white-haired girl grinned, appearing next to her friend. And I forgot about that, Namikaze answered. Well, kids, let's race with lightning, Likar asked with a smile. Let's go, the children shouted and their bodies were covered in a blanket of lightning. The boy's lightning was black and destroyed grass when it touched it, and the girl's was the opposite, grass appeared on empty patches of land. Minimum, they shouted and the functions of their special chakra stopped working, but the color still remained. Naruto, by the way, can grant life, but not as much as Kagaya, and the girl can steal life, but not as much as her friend. They ran at full speed, people saw only 2 flashes, but they understood who it was and what it was. A strong stream of air blew people's hats off, and lifted the skirts of the elves. Children could fall from such a stream. Ha ha, Kagaya and Likar lost. I'm first, the true elf shouted proudly, sticking out his chest, and then saw that the blue-eyed one had already run. You're wrong, my friend. The blonde smiled, standing head down on the tree. As Alwaya, said the boy, going beyond the barrier. Lihar, they will kill him if he goes on his own. Kagaya was scared. I know, let's go quickly after him, answered the elf and ran after the boy. They went beyond the barrier and were about to be attacked when the youngest of the crowd raised their hand and everyone calmed down. They started to say, give us your true ruler and we will not touch you, said the demon. Try to take it. The boy smiled bloodthirstily and took his life out of its sheath, filled it with black lightning and shouted. Maximum. The girl repeated after him, only her lightning was white, and when touching someone, she could both take and give life, just like her friend. Likar took out his katana and filled it with air chakra, and then began the battle with his students. The orcs and demons attacked the adult elf in crowds, but when combining several elements, Lihir easily dealt with them, and using the lightning of the gods, he destroyed several squads at a time. However, if he uses this technique twice, then he will lie in the hospital for at least 3 weeks. Naruto and Kagaya combined their techniques, and the boy decided to use his signature genome technique. See if U200B U200B death. With these words, he finished making seals and within a radius of several dozen meters, everyone began to fall, blood flowed from the eyes, ears, nose and mouth, and then their bodies began to crumble into dust. The effect did not work on Kagaya, but less than a minute later it was all over. Kirin. The girl said the name of the technique, raised her hand and a white thunder dragon appeared from behind the clouds, and then, it rushed down and destroyed more than a squad of demons. Reikiri. The black-haired man created a clot of lightning in his hand and began to destroy the orcs, but before he had gone even 10 meters, he received a spear and an axe in his back. Cough. The red-eyed man spat out blood and saw the same 2 young warriors behind him. So you are the true one, but against 2 true ones you are nothing, and you also have no experience, they said. The spear and axe were pulled out of his back, and Namikaze fell to his knees, and then lay down. He lay bleeding, thinking that he would soon meet his family and finally see his mother in person, meet his grandfather, grandmother and others. But his fate was not like that. Almost closing his eyes, he saw how the furious Lihar tried to destroy the orcs and demons alone, and the crying Kagaya transferred her chakra to her friend. Naruto, with his eyes closed, lay and waited for his death, because alone one of the 3 elf elders would not stand against an entire army of demons and orcs. Run, Kagaya, while you can, leave me and live happily, the boy begged his girlfriend. Shut up, idiot, I'm trying to bring you back from the other world, and you say such things, the girl cried. Don't cry, friend, tears don't suit you, the boy said smiling, and then, he opened his eyes and saw how elves appeared on the battlefield, as well as several other high-ranking officials, which were the other 2 elf elders. Loy and Lego. Shut up, just shut up, the girl said, trying to calm down. If I die here, just know that you were a good friend and tell Likar that he can destroy all the dragons. The black-haired man answered. You can tell him yourself. The heiress of the Otsutsuki clan answered. If I survive, then yes. The son of the 4th Hokage smiled. Fool, the white-haired girl shouted. Yes, yes. In one of the wards of the elven hospitals, a black-haired boy woke up, whose red eyes resembled a sea of blood. Who am I? He asked the very first question, seeing the nurse. His Majesty has woken up, the girl shouted. So, I survived, the boy smiled. Naruto. Kagaya ran into the ward, immediately jumping to hug her friend, and then began to cry. Don't cry, I told you, it doesn't suit you. Namikaze smiled. You were in a coma for almost a year. The girl shouted. A year? Have you become stronger? The son of the fourth Hokage asked seriously. Almost no, I just learned to control chakra perfectly. The white-haired girl was upset. It's okay, but you are stronger than me now. The red-eyed boy answered. Are you sure? The blue-eyed girl asked. No, I feel different somehow. The Elf King thought. Different, then. Yes, it feels like I can absorb life energy with a bite, and I also have new abilities. What abilities? The girl was surprised. Let me bite you, the boy asked. Okay, the heiress of the Otsutsuki clan answered. The boy stood up, went up to his friend and bit her on the neck. Ah, the white-haired girl blushed. Drops of blood got into the boy's mouth and his body began to recover more quickly. And your blood is delicious. The elf grinned. You fool, how can blood be delicious? Asked the girl. I don't know, but it tastes good to me, he answered. I'll call Likar, said the elf and left the room. Naruto sat down on the bed and began to wait for his friends to come. A few minutes later he heard footsteps, and then Kagaya's face appeared, and the blonde man behind her. Naruto, I'm glad you're alive. Likar smiled. Likar, my father told me that there was some kind of vampire. Could it really be me? Asked Namikaze. Naruto, can you control blood? The elf elder was surprised. No, the boy answered. So you're not a vampire? Said the long-haired man. Got it, and when will he appear? Do you know that? The boy asked. No, no one knows if he or she is, where and how. The elf answered. By the way, blood, Kagaya's blood restored me, said Namikaze. Perhaps it is the effect of your chakra. Likar answered. What happened this year? The true elf asked another question. Angels, dwarves and werewolves were destroyed. Completely, the elder answered. So, only demons, orcs, humans and dragons remain. The boy was upset. Yes, the blonde answered. It's a pity, but there were so many races. Elder, your majesty, the demons were destroyed by dragons. A soldier burst into the room. We need to unite with the orcs and humans. The boy said. Okay with humans, but orcs. Likar thought out loud. Naruto, let's be passive, no one will break our barrier anyway. And in a year or two we will be able to go beyond the barrier and destroy the dragons. I think they will lie low, because destroying demons is not an easy matter. Kagaya intervened in the conversation. Okay, my dear students, let's go train, said the oldest elf in the room and left. Let's go, Naruto. With these words, Kagaya took her friend by the hand and they left the room. Lahir, but I haven't fully recovered yet, shouted Namikaze. It's okay, there were times when I also trained sick. The enemy won't wait for you to recover, calmly answered the blonde. Naruto, don't whine, we need to finish the joint technique and the dragons won't resist, said Kagaya. Yes, the explosion of life and death is powerful, answered the boy. The heiress of the Otsutsuki clan took her friend by the hand, and she began to accumulate a huge amount of her chakra in her free hand, putting it out. The boy repeated after her, and Lihar stood and watched what would come of it. A minute later, they had more than half of their entire supply concentrated in their hand, and then they blew it up and the clearing they were on was divided into two areas. One was covered with grass and trees, and the other was the opposite. No grass, no trees, the earth blackened to the limit and dead animals that were here. This phenomenon can be observed more than hundreds of meters from these two, and Lihar, who was on Kagaya's side, began to look younger and feel better, but if he had sided with Naruto, they would now be watching their mentor's ashes being carried away by the air flow. After that, the children changed sides and began to accumulate energy. A minute later, the remaining half was in their palms, and a second later, it was released and the clearing became the same as it was at the very beginning, and the elder students fell exhausted, while Lihar began to look the same as before. You have worked hard, but you need to learn to control your power so that you can give an effect not to everything your chakra touches, but to what you want to give death or life. Likar explained. And how do you propose to do this? Asked the true elf lying on the ground. I don't know, you have to learn to control your power yourselves. Lihar, how many dragons are there now? Asked Kagaya, sitting next to Naruto. About 17, maybe there are more while we're talking. The blonde answered. 17, then. To release all the chakra at once, we need to stand for at least 10 minutes, without moving, which we can't do. And also, we need to increase our reserves, otherwise we fall from exhaustion after 2 times. It's terrible, the girl said sadly. Oh well, a year or two and we'll figure out our strength. A year later. And so, warriors, now we will destroy the dragons. For the elves and the orcs, shouted the youngest among the orcs, who was their ruler, a true orc. You will sort things out after we help people destroy these lizards. Shouted a black-haired guy with pointy ears, whose name was Naruto and he was a true elf. Attack, shouted the two true rulers and the army consisting of orcs and elves. Be careful not to die there, Naruto. Smiled the true orc. Yeah, we still need to have a rematch, Zugrel. Smiled the boy at the ruler of the orcs. They ran to the territory of people, where the fight between the most numerous race and dragons was currently taking place. Smoke from the buildings set on fire by the dragons could be seen for kilometers. According to the scouts, all the soldiers of people and dragons had gathered there. The techniques of the elders and the strongest people were visible, and the dragons, flying and dodging these very techniques, were spewing flames of different colors from their mouths. These flames matched the color of their scales. The most striking was the golden dragon spewing golden flames. He was the true dragon. The army of the two united races saw one of the dragons, which was purple, fall like a stone down. They realized that the giant lizard was dead, but Lihar, Naruto and Kagaya saw an old friend. The black dragon. Now I'll show you that now we can do more than just knock you out. Naruto shouted, covered himself in black lightning and rushed towards the dragon. Kagaya saw that her friend ran at high speed and she also accelerated, but she knew that she would not catch up with the true elf, because he was faster than her, but a little weaker in controlling lightning. Lihar, let's race, the girl shouted. Ha ha, you know that you are faster than me. The elf smiled. Namikaze literally flew into the dragon and pierced his wing. Woo-ha-ha, you can't run away now. The boy shouted and concentrated lightning in his hand. It was Reikiri. He began to strike the black dragon with lightning, and the people joined him, and after a few seconds, a girl appeared instead of the dragon, a rather beautiful girl. Everyone was surprised and stopped. You won't stop me with your beauty, the boy said and pierced her heart. The dragons who saw this went berserk and began to fight more fiercely. Elves and orcs had already joined the battle and now the battlefield was an opportunity for everyone to die. Even the strongest. The corpses of three races were flying across the battlefield, the burnt bodies crumbled from touch, some vomited, and the strongest, despite the sadness, continued to fight. The number of dragons also began to decrease, but not as fast as the army of the united races. Ha, Kagaya, I couldn't accept passivity. Naruto smiled. It's okay, I like it even more. The girl raised her hand with a smile and a huge, white, thunder dragon appeared from behind the clouds, and a black one of the same size began to appear next to it. They united in one, black and white dragon, larger than an ordinary dragon, hit one of the silver dragons and was destroyed, and more than a quarter of the chakra of the only children on the battlefield evaporated. Less than half of the chakra is left, what do you think? Maybe first the lightning of the gods, and then the explosion? Asked Namikaze. No, then we will become useless, said Otsutsuki and ran on, taking her katana out of its sheath and covering it with white lightning. Yes, yes. Repeating the actions of his friend, the true elf jumped to the golden dragon and hit it with his katana. The blade did not pierce the land water flying, but only slightly chipped the scales. Die hard. The black-haired one was surprised. Pathetic elf. The dragon shouted with disdain and belched golden flame at the boy. Bitch. The red-eyed one expressed himself and covered himself in lightning to reduce the damage, but it did not work out and he fell to the ground, and then knelt down. Creature. Shouted the elf king, rose leaning on his katana. Naruto, how are you? Asked Kagaya. Kagaya, let me bite. The boy asked. Maybe you'll go bite some other girl? Asked the white-haired girl. Okay. The boy said and began to look for the elven girls. Wait, I was joking. Admitted the heiress of the Otsutsuki clan. I know. Smiled Namikaze and bit his embarrassed friend on the neck. Great, I've recovered. The boy smiled. Now let's go, let's kill him. Shouted the true elf and was blown away by a gust of air that was formed from the army. He turned and saw a red-eyed girl covered in the blood of those who exploded. Everyone thought that she was an enemy and some soldiers ran to kill her, but when they got closer, she raised her hand, their eyes began to fill with blood, and they themselves grew and after a few seconds, they exploded. A vampire. The elf king concluded. He jumped onto the golden dragon's head. Elf, I have a proposal. First, destroy this creature, and then we will continue this slaughter. I agree with you, Goranik. Elves, orcs, humans and dragons. Stop fighting, the boy shouted. Everyone looked at him questioningly. Right now, our main target is her. The golden dragon pointed at the vampire. Yes, no one except the true ones and elders should get involved in the battle. The black-haired man shouted. The remaining silver dragon, 2 elves, Likar and Kagaya, Zugrel, 4 humans and a true human flew up to them. There are more humans as always, but they are the weakest. Right now, the elves are the strongest, but don't get cocky. Her power is great, she can control blood, though at short distances. The boy said. Attack. They whispered and ran at the vampire. In the first 10 seconds of the fight, 2 humans, whose bodies were very weak, exploded, and also, the girl lost her arm, but a second after the loss, a new one grew back. The girl aimed at one of the elves and he began to grow rapidly. He covered his blade with fire and the last parting gift was that he split the vampire in half. Likar and the other elf covered their blades with air and began to quickly beat the vampire. Zubral took out his two-handed sword and began to tear her apart, and Naruto and Kagaya concentrated their power in their palms, holding hands. They aimed at the girl and black and white energy exploded around her. They saw that only her hand remained from the girl. Already rejoicing in victory, Likar went to congratulate his students on their victory and the children saw that a new body began to grow from the hand, and Likar began to grow and accompanied by the gaze of everyone on the battlefield, he exploded. Naruto and Kagaya, who saw this, began to cry, and she continued to destroy everyone. First the people fell, then Zubral, the silver dragon also fell, and the golden one covered the children with itself and also, exploded. The elder's disciples rose, took each other's hands and began to concentrate lightning in these hands, the discharges of which struck even those who were 100 meters away from them. You will pay for this. The elves shouted and with great speed and shout. Double lightning of the gods. Destroyed the vampire. A huge charge of lightning struck the point where the vampire stood and finally finished her off. When the dust cleared, they saw the Elf King and the Utsutsuki heiress all covered in blood, lying where the vampire had previously stood. The warriors began to rejoice, and then, remembering all the past grievances, attacked the dragons. The dragons resisted for a long time, more than half of the army of the united races fell. The orcs swung their axes and two-handed swords so that sometimes they killed people and elves, even their own kind, and the elves hit with their strongest techniques and katanas that killed everyone indiscriminately. Naruto raised his head and saw a bloody massacre, as dragons, elves, people and orcs fought among themselves. This battle was not for life, but for death. After a few hours, not a single person remained, and the remaining 2 dragons held high into the air and continued to spew flames. The orcs threw both axes and swords at them, but all to no avail, so they decided to destroy the elves first. Tell me, Kagaya, what did we fight for? Lihar and the others gave their lives for nothing. The boy asked his friend sadly. I don't know, Naruto, I don't know. The girl answered. The powerless students of the strongest elf continued to watch as the elves and orcs continued to kill each other, and the dragons, rising high, burned a large number of creatures of the other 2 races with their fire. Still, the orcs fell in a day, and the elves in the second. There was 1 dragon left, who noticed that there were 2 more elves who were alive. He quickly flew to them and shot his fire. You noticed us too late, Naruto said, taking his katana and covering it with lightning. The boy stood up and, concentrating a huge amount of chakra in the katana, flew into the dragon and pierced its head. He raised his head and saw gray clouds, and then it began to rain. Drops fell into the boy's eyes, but he did not care. He heard footsteps, and then felt Kagaya's body pressed against him. Naruto, I'm so glad to spend the last moments of my life with you. Kagaya said. Why? The boy asked, putting his katana in its sheath and with Kagaya on his back, he took the katana with the hieroglyph, death, on life and handed it to his friend, and she put it in a white sheath. Look, she pointed her finger at the meteorites flying towards them. Ha, we've only lived for 9 years. The boy smiled. The first meteorite fell far from them, the second 2, then the third, fourth, fifth and so on, up to the 8th, which fell not far from them. Waves of fire that slowly covered the entire planet were approaching the children. I won't give up so easily. The boy shouted and covered his body, Kagaya and himself with his chakra. The girl also covered herself and her friend with all her chakra. The fire touched them from 4 sides at once and they passed out. I imagined hell differently. The black-haired boy opened his eyes and saw clearings, trees, and a blue-eyed girl behind him. So, we survived. The elf was surprised. Judging by the fact that I grew up, I will consider that we are now 10. Wow, now Naruto and I are in hell. The girl opened her eyes. Kagaya, what the hell? Asked Namikaze. Naruto. We survived, asked the heiress of the Otsutsuki clan, jumping into the arms of her best friend. Looks like when do you think the gods will bring life back to this earth? Asked the boy. How should I know? Answered the girl with a question. We will train so that we won't be beaten if the gods create humans and other races. Said the true elf. Yes, we will become strong, answered the white-haired girl. By the way, Kagaya, don't you feel a second power in you? Asked the boy. Yes, is this a new type of chakra? Asked the girl. No, the energy is completely different from chakra. Let's release it, said the Elf King, and black flames formed around him, and white ones around the Otsutsuki. Fire, then, is interesting, said Naruto. Now we will have to train fire as well. Damn, I really don't want to, whined Kagaya. And you will have to, answered the black-haired one. Okay, Kagaya, we part ways here. We will meet in this place in 5 years, said Naruto. Can't we go together? Asked the girl. No, we must become strong individually, so that later we do not rely only on our combined strength. What if I am not here, or you are not here with me? Then we will not be able to do anything alone, explained the elf. Okay, Naruto, if you do not come, I will find you and kill you, shouted the girl with tears in her eyes. Okay, Kagaya, answered the boy and hugged his friend goodbye. Good luck to you, he smiled. You too, fool, answered the girl. With these words, they parted for training, which will last 5 years. Will they be able to become stronger? POW Naruto. I walked through the forest, and then I saw a fountain, from which the energy was directly emanating, corresponding to mine. Great, now I have a chance to get stronger faster. I will take all the energy from the waterfall. I sat in the lotus position and began to meditate on the energy similar to chakra. After an unknown amount of time I don't know how long I've been sitting here, but all the energy has been absorbed, and there was a lot of it, so at least a month for sure. I opened my eyes and saw the face of an animal in front of me, very similar to a cat, although it was much larger. The feline stood and looked at me with frightened eyes, and behind it I saw a small number of people running with spears. Stop, tiger, one of them shouted. Tiger, so that's your name? I asked the feline. The tiger, as they called him, growled angrily at me and ran away. Damn it, boy, you missed him, one of these people whined, but seeing their ears I stopped thinking that these were people. Elves, are they really survivors? I asked. What survivors? You missed the tiger, the elf shouted. A tiger, is that your pet? I asked. What pet? That was our lunch, he shouted. Lunch, let me catch it, I smiled. Will you catch it? Ha, don't make me laugh, they laughed. He who laughs last, laughs best, I said, and seeing the tiger out of the corner of my eye, I began to concentrate the energy, which is similar to chakra on the tip of my finger, in the form of a cylinder and fired. It was fast, not faster than chakra, but fast, but I need to develop it, because only then will I be able to use fire. So you are a mage? They widened their eyes, looking at me. A mage? Who is that? I asked. Ha ha, I am a mage myself, but you don't know who these are. They laughed. I am not a mage, I am a true elf, I said, proudly sticking out my chest. A true elf? What nonsense, they asked. Forget it, so what kind of mages are they? I asked. Mages are those who can perfectly use mana, I said. So they have already come up with a name for this energy. What year is it now? I asked. According to our calculations, this world is now 3 years old. One of the elves said. Wait, how did you become so grown up then? You are 3 years old. I was surprised. No, we appeared like this, I don't know how, of course, but that's how it was. The same elf answered. So I have 2 more years left. I thought out loud. 2 years. Until what? The elves asked. Just a meeting with a friend. I smiled. After that, the elves told me more, but they still knew little. We went to the village and there I trained. The mana accumulation there was even better than the whirlpool, so I developed my level so much that only using mana I could defeat the strongest in their tribe. After 2 years. Thank you for the instructions, teacher, I said and bowed in respect. No need for that, Naruto, I only taught you the part that I know, and it's not much. My teacher and the head of this village smiled at me. Thanks anyway, I hope we meet again, I said and left the village. I walked through the forest with a calm gait, birds flew and sang their melodies, predators ran after rabbits and similar food, and I heard how they were sneaking up on me and wanting to jump out of the bushes. Boo! Some white-haired girl jumped out at me, whose blue eyes were so mesmerizing, but I can't take beauty. I reacted, put up a block and grabbed her by the arms. I pushed her to the ground, facing me. Your face is very familiar to me. Tell me your name, I asked. Oh, Naruto, don't you recognize your own best friend anymore? The girl asked me, building a smile on her face. Kagaya, is that you? At first I didn't recognize my friend, and then I remembered the girl I broke up with for training 5 years ago, and before that we had never parted. Of course, Otsutsuki smiled sweetly at me and hugged me, and I fell on her. Well, have you become stronger? I asked. You haven't changed. You're only interested in my strength. She was upset. Sorry, we haven't seen each other for so long, I was so worried. I smiled at my friend. Okay, I've become much stronger. I can even beat you. The girl shouted. Yeah, shall we check? I asked. Let's do it. The girl answered me, quickly crawled out from under me and got into a fighting stance. I got into a fighting stance and created 2 blunt magic blades from mana that wouldn't harm her. She created the same ones, which surprised me. What are your eyes wide open for? Did you think you were the only one who could do such tricks? She asked with a smile and rushed towards me. I ran at her and moved behind her. I was going to hit her, but when I swung, she disappeared and appeared behind me. I grinned, and then covered my body with a cloak of lightning and began to chase me across the battlefield. She smiled and repeated the technique after me. I transferred all the lightning chakra to my legs and became faster than Kagaya. I created a black flame in my hands and began to shoot my friend from all sides. She stood in one place and made a dome of fire around herself, and Naruto made a wave of fire and shot it at Kagaya. Her flame began to lose, but then she activated the full power of her fire and it stopped losing to mine. 2 lightning bolts flew across the battlefield. I formed a huge 2-handed sword in my hands. I jumped into the air, and Kagaya jumped after me. She hit me and I flew into the ground like a stone. I was smashed into the ground, and then stood up and jumped higher than my friend. I quickly flew down, and when the distance allowed me to hit, I hit my friend with my 2-handed sword with enormous force and she flew into the ground, where she was smashed. I fell next to her and quickly ran up and started calling her. Kagaya, are you okay? I asked, worried about my childhood friend. But Kagaya didn't answer. Kagaya, don't joke like that. I screamed. Kagaya. I screamed and hung over her to give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Ah, Kagaya mumbled and stood up abruptly. Now I was in a daze. Our lips intertwined in a kiss, which I definitely didn't expect. Oh, I'm sorry, Utsutsuki apologized, moving away from me. It's okay, Kagaya, actually, I began to say. I love you. We said at the same time, and then blushed and turned away from each other, expecting a refusal. What did you just say? Kagaya was surprised. I love you, I repeated. I'm glad. My friend smiled at me and tears started flowing from her eyes. Are you crying? No, I'm fucking laughing. She screamed. Why are you crying? I asked. From happiness. Kagaya said and hugged me. I hugged her back and we stood like that for about 10 minutes until my friend, or rather, my girlfriend, calmed down. End Pow Naruto. Kagaya, we are immortal. Naruto said. Well, yes, we are elves. The girl smiled. Do you know what this means? The guy asked. The first one to lose to someone will die. She asked. Yes, exactly. But we will become so strong that even the greatest masters will be ants compared to us. The ruler of the ancient elves smiled. Naruto, what if someone stronger than us is found? Kagaya asked. Do you think there will be? Naruto asked. I don't know, but who knows when a meteorite will fall again and destroy everyone, if of course it falls. The girl was worried. Yes, but we are developing more, because they were not strong at first, and we have chakra, by the way. Namikaze smiled. Okay, I think you're right, then I won't worry anymore. Answered Otsutsuki and assumed a calm look. Kagaya, do you agree to date me? Asked Naruto. No. The girl began to speak, but he immediately became upset. I am ready to marry you. The girl finished speaking, after which she smiled. So, you agree? Asked Naruto. Of course I agree. The girl shouted and jumped into her boyfriend's arms. I don't want to interrupt your cute conversations, but it's time for you to die. A voice was heard that the young couple heard behind them, in the bushes. Several people in purple cloaks jumped out from there. We are a gang of bounty hunters, there is a reward of 10 million gold for you. One of them said. We will kill the boy immediately, and no one objects to the fact that the girl is raped before death, right, guys? He asked, turning with the rest. Yes, several voices of hunters were heard. Move away boy, you are not worthy of her. This man said and his head flew off his shoulders. Will anyone else call me pathetic? Asked the elf, shaking blood from his katana. You bastard. Attacked while he was talking. Shouted the hunters, drawing their swords and strengthening them with their magic. They ran at Naruto. No one spares you on the battlefield. The guy said calmly, watching as Kagaya flew past him, and all the hunters, whose faces were in silent horror, lost their heads. And these are magicians. Weak ones. Naruto was surprised. My little one, these are not magicians, but ordinary bounty hunters, their magic is still far from ideal, said Kagaya. Hey, just because I'm a few months younger than you doesn't mean you can call me little. Namikaze was indignant. Yes, my little one. Otsutsuki smiled affectionately. Kagaya, where are we going? asked Naruto. We're going to the land of the elves. The girl answered. After we turn 20, we don't age anymore. Namikaze laughed. Yeah, we're already over 600, and we look 20 at most. Otsutsuki smiled. Damn, magic has advanced so much, leaving science behind. What do you think in another 500 years? Asked the guy. I don't think science will advance much, at least in 1,000 years. The white-haired girl answered. Yeah, and the races have returned. Even werewolves and demons are the weakest. The red-eyed man said. Naruto, how do you feel about people? Kagaya asked. You know, I only recognize elves. Her boyfriend answered her. Yes, after all these incidents with people, you have changed. The girl smiled. There was no point in butting in. The elf answered. Flashback. There are 2 of you, and 20,000 of us. Surrender. One of the generals of the huge army shouted. Honey, how shall we divide it? 10 for you and 10 for me. The black-haired guy asked his girlfriend. My little one, as you say, so it shall be. The girl answered, taking her blade out of its sheath. Then we will not divide it, there are too many of them here. The guy smiled and took out a blade with the hieroglyph, life, on the blade. He covered it with black flame and watched as the warriors calling themselves the Invincible Legion of the Roman army, one of the 10 legions of magicians, but there were fewer of them than usual, only 20,000, and in usual, more than 100. Now let's try my new spell, Naruto said, and with the help of flame rose above the army. He raised his hand and began to form a giant wave of fire above himself. So I'll use the hell wave. The guy muttered under his breath, and the wave, comparable in width to this entire army, flew at them. They quickly lined up in several rows and put up barriers in front of themselves. They looked quite powerful. Although, to be more precise, at this time, 400 years had passed since the beginning of the existence of this world. A couple consisting of 2 elves levitated and watched as a wave of black fire broke through the barriers and burned alive one of the 10 legions of Rome's magicians. Why did you attack us? Naruto asked the 4 generals of the legion. They give a lot of money for your heads, and when we saw this bitch, we wanted to play, because men have not been with women for a long time. Well, we played. 2 people stood out from the remaining 10,000 army of magicians and fought off their spells and simple attacks. I haven't used you in a long time, Naruto said, covering his sword with black energy, which was chakra, and then began to leave cuts on each of the Roman mages and they died. Kagaya stood and watched as everyone looked at her lustfully. This made her angry and raised her hand, after which a dragon followed these movements from the air, falling into the thick of the Roman soldiers and causing an explosion of great proportions. Even Naruto doesn't look at me like that, she snorted, walking on the corpses burned to the ground. The number of mages was quickly decreasing. In 20 minutes, from 10,000 they were reduced to 7, but still, the couple were injured. Kagaya, your chakra will do just fine now, Naruto said, appearing next to Kagaya. Okay, my little one. The girl smiled and they were both covered in white energy. How? Asked the generals, who were already barely standing on their feet. You'll find out in hell, the elves answered. The massacre continued, but the number of Romans was not decreasing so quickly. Fatigue was making itself felt. Kagaya, the main thing is that you don't interfere, Naruto said, and a huge lightning bolt began to form in his hand. The girl realized what her boyfriend wanted to do and jumped back a long distance. Lightning of the gods, Naruto shouted for effect and dove into the center of the Roman magicians. 10 seconds later an explosion thundered, and lightning began to strike from the sky. When the dust cleared, Kagaya, who was standing a few dozen meters away, saw her fiancé lying in a crater, and around him were charred corpses. The guy was lying all covered in cuts, and also unable to move. Otsutsuki rushed to him. Idiot, why exhaust yourself like that? The girl landed near the Elven King. Better protect yourself, because not everything was destroyed, Naruto answered, looking behind his girlfriend and seeing the remaining army of Romans there, and there were about 2,000 of them, the strongest, remaining out of 20. You're a fool, I won't abandon you, the blue-eyed girl screamed with tears in her eyes. Kagaya, Naruto screamed, but unable to move, he couldn't do anything. The Otsutsuki's body was pierced by several arrows, reinforced with different elements by the magicians who used it. We'll meet in paradise. The girl smiled and closed her eyes. Okay, time to use this. See you in 10 years. The guy said. For a long time, I'll miss you. Kagaya continued to speak with her eyes still closed. Don't run into anyone, Namikaze said, and his body began to be covered with black, like darkness, chakra. Mortal awakening, said the king of the ancient elves. The chakra became so dense that it was visible just like the physical body. Everything that the chakra touched lost life energy. Of course, Kagaya survived due to the effect of her special chakra. The shinobi found himself in front of the very first magician from the Roman army, grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. The magician's body began to crumble and eventually, scattered in the wind. "You're done for." In the center, among the corpses, stood a guy, about 20 years old by the look of it. He was kneeling, with his eyes open, without moving. 10 years, how will I live without you for so long?" The white-haired girl was upset, pulling arrows out of her body. A smile appeared on the guy's face and he closed his eyes. All the bodies began to crumble and the energy coming out of them went to the black-haired one. "Naruto, I will wait for you," said the girl. "Surrender. You are alone, and there are 20,000 of us." She heard a voice behind her. "I won't give in to you, asses." Kagaya shouted back and covered herself in white energy, and then, covering her katana with lightning and fire, she rushed at them and began to kill. However, it did not last long and she stood next to Naruto to protect him, and the second legion of Roman magicians mocked her, but a 40,000 samurai army from Japan came to the rescue, which was far away, so no one knew why the samurai were coming here. "Who are you and why are you here?" the girl asked. "We are samurai, we were going to capture Greece." One of the samurai took off his helmet, under which was a young man with pointy ears and green eyes. "An elf?" Kagaya was surprised. "Yes, Japan belongs to the elves," he said, after which he turned to the rest of the samurai and shouted, "Attack!" An army of 40,000 well-equipped fighters attacked the remaining 19,000 magicians. The heads of Roman warriors and samurai were flying, severed limbs, bodies scorched by magic, holes and flattened. All of this was in the slaughterhouse. The girl realized that it was better to help them and at the end she created 2 huge lightning bolts in her hands. She ran to the rear of the magicians, and then flew up on her fire and fell into the crowd, in which an explosion occurred, and then one incredibly large lightning struck, destroying more than 1,000 Roman magicians. Kagaya returned to her beloved and before passing out, she hugged him. End flashback. For how long did you fall asleep then? And indeed, for a long time. He promised for 10 years, and more than 50 have passed. Naruto laughed. Laugh, I almost died of anxiety then, fool. Kagaya was sad. Don't be sad, Kagaya, everything is fine. After using Death Awakening, I will only sleep for a month now, don't be afraid. Namikaze smiled. Indeed, I lived without you for 50 years, I can live a month without problems. The elf became even more sad. Well, I don't use it all the time, only in extreme cases. The guy answered. In 200 years, you have shortened the period from 50 years to a month, but now you will shorten the period of your sleep longer and longer. Don't forget that we are immortal, I can still come up with so many tricks. The king of the ancient elves smiled. Well, I haven't developed refusal of life yet, so if you fall asleep and a 20,000 army attacks me again, you will wake up as a guy who has no beloved. Well, don't say such things, you are strong, and refusal of life can be developed. The renunciation of life works on the principle of how Naruto sucks out life force, however, it is such a huge wave of chakra that takes away lives with it, but does not suck out life force, it works on everyone except dragons and those who are stronger than the heiress of the Otsutsuki. The murder limit at the moment is 10. The maximum number is 500. Hooray, the country of elves. And so, I will tell you a little about the situation in the world. The world is similar to ours, the countries are ours, however, all the continents were discovered earlier. The countries are under the leadership of races. North America, elves. Eurasia, people, dwarves, werewolves and demons. Australia, orcs. South America, angels, elves. Africa, dragons, people. What country are we in now? Naruto asked his life partner. According to my information, we are in the USA. The girl answered. The USA, then. The guy thought. Something is wrong, asked Kagaya. No, just 3 letters in the name. Namikaze answered. The full name is the United States of America. Otsutsuki said. The States, then. The king of the ancient elves answered. Yes, now we need to see the king of the elves. The girl explained. Why? Asked the most powerful man of this world, author, but this is not certain. What do you mean, why? You are a real king. The elf answered. Why? I don't want any more trouble, said the son of the 4th Hokage. Naruto, only you are a true elf, shouted Kagaya. So what? I don't want to be a king anymore. It's too much trouble. Naruto, Japan belongs to the demons, right? Asked Kagaya. Yes, after 600 years the elves fled from there. The guy was upset. We are already 1,000. I feel like such an old woman. Otsutsuki became sad. Well, yes, looking at you, I think that you are my younger sister. Naruto smiled. You don't look much older yourself. The girl shouted. Well, guys look older and wiser than girls, I think. The king of the ancient elves laughed. Although, looking at your figure, you wouldn't think that you are so small. Namikaze began to laugh harder. Isn't it good that I'm so beautiful? Asked the elf. I don't know. Asked the black-haired man. But someone can look at you, right? Asked Namikaze. Yes, I know, but I don't walk down the street in just my underwear. Answered the girl. Indeed, smiled Naruto. How tired I am of this war, said the guy sitting on one of the 100,000 corpses. If you only knew how tired I am of all this, answered the girl, who was lying on his lap. Kagaya, the people just won't calm down, why do they need our small house? Asked the black-haired elf, stroking his girl's head. What are they trying to achieve? I don't know, maybe we're bothering them somehow. Asked the girl. Perhaps, so it's better to leave. Asked Namikaze. Yes, we can move to some quiet island. Otsutsuki rejoiced. My dear, what island? Other races have already settled on all the islands, why do we need this? Asked the guy. Damn, my little one. It's a pity, of course, maybe we should destroy them. Asked Kagaya. But they haven't done anything bad to us, so no. Said the red-eyed man. But Naruto, shouted the girl. No, that means no. Shouted back the son of the fourth Hokage. Well, damn, you're always like this. The white-haired girl was sad. Let's stay here, said Naruto. Here, Kagaya was surprised. Yes, if they attack again, we'll go and destroy the country from which the people of this race came. Said the guy. Do you think we can do it? We're not strong enough to destroy the Tsardom of Moscow, for example. Answered the girl. Ha ha ha, we're so strong that we'll destroy all the main forces of the races. Laughed the brunette. If you say so, then you don't have to worry. The blue-eyed girl smiled. They would have been sitting on the corpses and talking peacefully, but they heard explosions behind them. And here comes the artillery, Naruto said. And it looks like it's not just artillery, Kagaya answered. Do you think there are mages here? The guy asked. Of course, did you think that artillery could make such explosions? The white-haired girl asked. Yes, Namikaze answered. They can't, at least not this one. These mages are most likely of an average level, no one has reached the highest level yet, except for us, Kagaya said. Should we kill them with magic only? The king of the ancient elves asked. I think it's better not to reveal too much chakra for now, everyone who saw our true power is already sitting and drinking tea in the afterlife. Ha ha, Otsutsuki laughed. Sometimes you scare even me, the red-eyed man said. The white-haired girl stood up, shook off the dust and walked towards the explosions. Naruto stood up from the corpse of some warrior and followed her, taking his katana out of its sheath. Will there be meat? Kagaya asked. Of course. Namikaze smiled and flew up with the help of fire, and the girl repeated after him. Good afternoon. He greeted the two forces, which were the demons and angels. Have you really decided to conquer North America? Kagaya asked. Who are you, pathetic children? The commander-in-chief of the demons asked. Children, you say? Namikaze asked. Exactly, children, even I will agree with him, shouted a girl who looked like a human, but with snow-white wings. I suggest that you disperse peacefully, otherwise there will be a massacre. Naruto shouted. A massacre? Boy, are you laughing at us? The demon asked. Angels, we suggest you leave peacefully, said a pair of elves. And what will you do? Call the elves, asked the commanders-in-chief, laughing. Have it your way, said the black-haired one and descended to the ground, and then, slowly began to walk towards the army. Well, let's check what you are capable of, shouted two thugs from two races and ran forward towards the guy. They also calmly walked towards the elf, taking out their two-handed swords from their sheaths. Oh, Lord, forgive the souls of these sinners. Amen, said Kagaya, and the heads of these two thugs fell to the ground, while the body began to crumble in the wind. What was that? Everyone was surprised except the elf. It's called death, I'll tell you a secret. Naruto smiled, covered his katana with fire and began to accelerate, and Kagaya descended and ran after him. Refusal of life. The girl whispered and a white wave swept through the area, taking more than 10,000 lives, although more than 500,000 remained. Monsters! Monsters! The warriors and magicians shouted. Middle class, now we will test your strength. Fireballs, dragons and all sorts of spells of white and black colors flew across the battlefield. Lightning struck everyone who approached the pair of elves, and heads and other parts, such as arms, legs and the like, flew off like feathers. Magicians! Prepare second-class magic, ice, the commander-in-chief of the angels shouted. So, the second class of water. I have powerful fire and the most powerful lightning, on par with white lightning, it's not scary. Naruto said and put a fire barrier around himself, before taking Kagaya by the hand and pulling her towards him. It seems to me that his fire is unusual. There are two options left, either it is a special first-class fire, or the third. The soldiers said. Is it possible that his fire has gone beyond the third? Asked the demon who was the leader of this army of redskins. Of course it is possible, but such a chance is extremely small, even the rulers never went beyond the third class. The demon advisor answered him. Now you will see the difference between the second and fourth class. The black-haired elf smiled predatorily, after which a volcano with black magma inside began to form in the area. Fourth-class magic. How is that possible? The army of two races was frightened. That's it, live from the very beginning of existence, you will learn. When magma touched the body, the shell immediately began to burn and crumble, which was typical of Naruto's energy. During this time, he learned to perfectly control the power of his energy, its properties. However, he was bad at healing, as well as taking Kagaya's life. Author, damn, when you don't like anyone, it's so weird to write something related to romance, although not that much. I don't know why, but these are the thoughts that crept into my head while writing this part. Okay, read on. Then we, the third-class mages, will take charge ourselves. Shouted the commanders-in-chief of these forces, as well as their assistants, and one half of their body was soaked with one element, and the other, with another. Two elements, interesting. It's time for us to show our cards, otherwise we'll die. Naruto said, and his blade began to be enveloped not only in fire, but also in lightning. Dense lightning formed as a cover on his body, lightning struck from the sky, and a small lightning began to form in the guy's left hand. He raised his hand up, as if surrendering. Ha ha, surrender, so be it. They laughed, but after that, a head of a black, electric dragon with red eyes appeared in the thick clouds. Grinning predatorily, he rushed down, straight at the third-class magicians. In such a short period of time, they managed to form a peaceful alliance for the period of this battle, and the earth magicians came forward, after which they created a steel dome, behind the walls of which the rest, as well as the earth magicians themselves, hid. It won't help. Namikaze shouted, and after the dragon touched the wall, an explosion occurred, which threw the guy himself. The dust began to disperse, and he saw how Kagaya stood and held her left breast, in which there was a wound that touched the lung and possibly pierced. But at this time, the girl held her right hand in the area of the heart of the commander-in-chief of the girl from the army of angels, and half-dead people were scattered around her, but one of them, the demon general, was still able to pierce her lung and even stand on her feet, but not for long. A few minutes later, the dust had cleared completely, and the guy was still watching his girlfriend torment the demon that had held his sword in Kagaya's left chest a few minutes ago. The dome was destroyed, and everyone else died from blood loss. For the angels. For the demons. The guy heard the cries of the remaining army, whose size exceeded all the previous opponents combined. This couple joined hands and stood watching as warriors and magicians slowly but surely approached her. Kagaya, like the old-fashioned way? Asked Naruto. The old-fashioned way. The girl answered, and white energy began to form in her hand, and Naruto also began to form energy, albeit black. Is this chakra from ancient legends? Asked the magician, letting go of his weapon and starting to back away. Just understood. Naruto smiled, concentrating. Run while you can, shouted the magician, who told the others about the chakra. You won't run away, said the two elves, and half of their chakra reserves formed in the palm of their hand. They appeared in the thick of the army, and an explosion occurred. For 1,500 years they developed the explosion of life and death, to such a level that the craters would be comparable to Kirin, although before there were no craters at all, but this way the effect became stronger. The scraps of warriors flew across the battlefield, and the survivors began to run faster, but at the sight of all this horror, they tore right on the go. You have seen our strength, you will not be able to escape. Naruto said, and began to catch up with the rest together with his girlfriend. Have mercy, I beg you. The survivors of the great armies a few minutes earlier began to kneel. But no one responded to their requests, and they began to lose their arms, slowly, piece by piece, cutting their arms from the fingers to the shoulders, and then their legs. Two flashes flew across the field. Kagaya, we have not perfected this movement technique. Naruto stopped, then smiled and spit out blood, fell to the ground. Idiot, who asked to exhaust themselves like this? Asked the girl who ran up. Kagaya, do you agree to marry me? Asked Namikaze, lying on the ground and taking out a box from his space, in which there was a ring, very similar to the gift from Kagaya, which was already more than 1,500 years old. The golden eye of the dragon, or what? The girl smiled, wiping away tears from her beautiful face. Do you agree? Asked Naruto. Of course I agree, the girl shouted, hugging her fiancé. And now, let me put the ring on your finger. Otsutsuki extended her hand to Naruto and he put the ring on her ring finger. It changed shape to one that suits the girl, and on it, instead of the golden eye of the dragon, all the happy moments from the lives of these two began to slowly scroll. Thank you, Naruto. Two people were walking through the forest, which were Naruto and Kagaya. They were walking in the direction of Russia, which was under the control of people. What were they doing there? They're simply going to take revenge on people for coming with pitchforks and burning down their house. Kagaya, let's wipe Moscow off the face of the earth, said the black-haired man. Okay, my little one, the girl smiled back. How many times have I asked you not to call me that? I don't know, but I like it so much, smiled Otsutsuki. Okay, I won't insist, answered Namikaze. And how are we going to destroy Moscow? Don't you know how many guards there are? Asked the girl. Well, maybe I'll lose my arm, but you'll take my body. After the final stage, I'll fall down without strength, right? Are you an idiot? What arm? Shouted Kagaya. You'll be able to heal it if it's cut off, right? Asked the red-eyed man. Of course, but it'll take a few years, answered the elf. I'll go a couple of years without an arm, said the king of the ancient elves. Are you sure you want to? Asked his wife. Of course, I will demolish Moscow even at the cost of my life. True elf said seriously. And if the Ukrainians come, what will you do? Asked the white-haired girl. And you will not help me. Namikaze was upset. Of course I will help, idiot. The elf smiled. Stage 4. Naruto shouted and his body was covered in black lights and lightning. The sword began to increase in size, and lightning chakras struck everyone who approached even at a distance of a kilometer. The final stage. The limit. Namikaze whispered under his breath, and at that very moment a quarter of the once great Moscow was gone. Where are you? The guy shouted, waving life, thereby creating a slit with his energy, which flew into the building and destroyed it. Pathetic boy. With these words, several people flew into Naruto, who were fourth-class magicians. And here is the fun. The guy grinned bloodthirstily, after which he cut off the hand of the first of them. Do you think this will save you? They asked, and all at once hit with their fists, on the tips of which were formed covers of elemental mana. After such a blow, our young hero, of course, flew off. Attacked Moscow, and you are a daredevil. The only fourth-grade girl among them shouted. You won't get far on courage alone. The brute said, hitting Naruto. Namikaze flew into the house and destroyed it. He got up, spat out blood and looked at them with a grin. You're right, you won't get far on courage. After these words, a small revolution occurred, they all lost an arm, and the guy who lost his arm at the very beginning lost his other one. They flew off to different corners of Moscow. Remember the name of the one who will destroy Moscow. My name is Naruto Namikaze, said the black-haired man, and began to quickly move to each of the fourth-class mages. The mages received all sorts of wounds, some deep, some not so much. Pathetic boy, such wounds are nothing to us. The brute shouted and stood up, everyone else repeated after him. Then I'll have to do what I didn't want to do. Naruto said, raised his hands and began to release black chakra from his fingers. I'll tell you the name. The Death Star. The guy said, after which the black ball that rose above his head began to take on a shape similar to the stars in paintings, 6 pointed stars, and the lightning acquired a circular shape, and it felt like the lightning was preventing the chakra from breaking out and destroying everything in its path. What is this? The 6 people were scared. This is your death. Namikaze grinned and the star rushed towards the people. One of the ancient elves, King's arms was torn off, but, according to Kagaya, its recovery will take a few days. Idiot, I told you I would help. Kagaya said, and a dome of white fire formed around her. She ran up to her husband and started to stop the bleeding and heal the wounds little by little. Cough. Boy, almost killed me, bastard, said the last survivor of the 6 people, who was a brute. Shut your mouth and go to rest, said Kagaya, and the whole of Moscow was swallowed by a volcano in which white magma was raging. Drown in my anger, Moscow. Kagaya, the strongest man in this world, opened his eyes. Naruto. With such a cry, the white-haired girl, the heiress of the Otsutsuki clan, jumped to hug her husband, who was Namikaze Naruto. Kagaya, I just woke up, now I'm going to fall asleep again, only this time for an eternal sleep. The true elf smiled awkwardly. Oh, sorry, I got too worried. You've just been lying there for almost 10 years, your arm even managed to grow back. Managed? Yes. Kagaya, I was thinking, let's go traveling. Naruto said. Go ahead, I don't mind. It's 1717 now, sorry for another time skip. 300 years later, 2017. Tokyo, Japan. So, be quiet. The teacher of the magic school, where they were about to introduce something or someone, entered the room. The students fell silent and stared at the teacher and the pair of elves who followed her, which were a black-haired, red-eyed guy, dressed in black pants and a black sweatshirt, and a girl dressed in the same clothes, only this one was white and smaller. They put on sneakers of the same colors as their clothes. While looking at the types of sweatshirts, I gained self-knowledge. What a beauty! What a handsome man! The students shouted. A stone face, that's how one could describe the state of this couple now. We have new students, introduce yourselves, the teacher said to her new students. My name is Naruto Namikaze. My name is Kagaya Otsutsuki. Why do you think they hid the fact that Kagaya has been a Namikaze for over 500 years? Because it would be strange for teenagers to be married at 15. Kagaya, marry me, said one of the guys admiring the white-haired girl. Clown. Naruto looked at him. Ha 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 ha, the class laughed. What are your levels? A girl unknown to them became curious. Well, something must have changed in 500 years, so I decided to rank magicians. From E to G: E rank, D rank, C rank, B rank, A rank, S rank, M rank, G rank. Each rank has 3 levels. People stopped awakening the usual element first and then developing it to a new level, like fire, lava, but immediately awaken a special element. Lightning is the rarest, and the most common is earth. In fact, the Namikaze couple is now at the 3rd level of G rank. They are the only ones who have developed this level of magic at all. They are even stronger in chakra, so there are few who will go into battle against these two. B rank, 3rd level. Answered Naruto. B rank, 3rd level. Answered Kagaya. B rank, 3rd level. It's amazing, even the most brilliant magicians in history only reached C rank, the 2nd level, during their studies. Said the girl. Why do you have names like the 2 legends who destroyed Moscow and then destroyed France? Asked the guy. Think about it yourself, answered Naruto. Are you really them? He got scared, sat there for a bit and laughed. Okay, I'm kidding, said the new classmate of these 2. There are 2 free seats, said the teacher and pointed to 2 seats near the window. Kagaya walked to the back of the class and sat down at the desk that was closer to the teacher. Naruto sat behind her. So, let's begin the lesson, shouted the teacher, and everyone fell silent and began to look at her. Okay, let's go over the very basics first, she said. Naruto raised his hand and began to speak. If you want to ask about the strongest people, demons and representatives of other races, I'll tell you. Among the demons, the strongest was Juman. His level of power, by which he would be assessed in the modern world, reaches M rank, the 2nd level. The strongest among people were the 6 titans, as they were called. They were invincible until 1707, when they were defeated by 2 legends. The level of all of them reached M rank, the 2nd level. Among the werewolves, the strongest was a woman named Henna. Her level of power was M rank, the 1st level. Among the angels, there was a girl named Nina. Her level was M rank, the 3rd level. The dwarves, Varric, the 3rd level of M rank. The dragons chose the strongest, who was Sand, the 3rd level of M rank. The elves surpassed all of them put together. However, the legendary duo disappeared immediately after they awakened the G rank in themselves, and this was after the victory over the 6 titans, 100 years after that moment. 2 legends whose names are used to scare children who don't want to go to bed, like, Naruto, Kagaya will come if you don't go to bed. Such phrases were used to scare children of other races, except for elves. Naruto Namikaze and Kagaya Otsutsuki, who later became Namikaze, both have a power level of G rank, 3rd level. Well done, Naruto, perfect, said the teacher. Not only is he handsome, but he's also smart. The girls squealed with admiration, but after Kagaya's look, everything stopped. Then tell me how the attributes of magic developed, said the woman. Kagaya raised her hand and began to speak. Well, at first, only 4 basic attributes could awaken everything. Fire, water, earth, air. At the 2nd level of magic, they acquired a special color. At the 3rd, they improved into a stronger element. For fire, magma, water, ice, earth, plants, air, sound. At the 4th level, these elements also received their color, but the color was not for beauty, but to show their power, since color magic is several times superior to ordinary magic. Now you can immediately awaken a strong element. The strongest is lightning, the weakest is ordinary light, the rarest is also lightning, and the most common is earth. Well done, Kagaya. The woman praised her new student and continued the lesson. Then I have one more question. How did Naruto and Kagaya defeat the titans? Asked the teacher. They killed them, though very difficultly and not with one spell, lost body parts and almost died, and Naruto fell, bleeding. Everything came through, except this. The most important thing. Reliable sources, of course. Kagaya turned to her husband. Quiet, I'll tell them now. Naruto said, after which he raised his hand and the teacher allowed him to answer. This is nonsense. The real battle began with Naruto entering the limit, after which the six attacked him from behind, throwing him around the city. He got angry and began to gradually cut them. His speed was so great that even the fastest of the six could not even move a finger when he had already received a new cut. In the end, the six did not want to fight and stood up, ran at Naruto, who was forming a spell similar to a six-pointed star of chakra located in a thunder dome. During the entire fight, he used this spell, called the Death Star. Only one of the six survived, however, he lost all his limbs, after which he was finished off by Kagaya, and Naruto lost his hand due to the power of this spell. Naruto, where did you get this information? A secret. First day of school, and already such a hassle. Naruto complained, walking out with Kagaya by the hand, and a car was already waiting for them in front of them, around which there were several more cars and a lot of security. It seems to me that we attract a lot of attention, with such guards in a car. Kagaya suspected. And I think not, they will know that it is better not to bother you. Namikaze smiled, opened the door and helped his wife get into the car, after which he sat down next to her and closed the door. Where do you need to go? Asked the driver. Probably to the shopping center. Naruto said, remembering that in the morning he promised Kagaya to help with the shopping. Why did I agree? The black-haired man complained. These are the words that the other people who were riding in this car heard, and an hour later a young couple was walking through the shopping center, behind them a security guard with several bags. Jake, that's all, put it in the trunk and you can rest. Naruto said to the man in the black tuxedo. He followed them everywhere and was also the most trusted person in their family. Okay, thanks. Jake replied and continued to follow his employers. How did they make money? Mages opened clans, companies and such to fight monsters. Monsters came to Earth in 1910. That is, 107 years before the present. There are many masks in the world that can hide a person's identity and strength level, but Naruto and Kagaya created their own. Faceless masks, similar to the masks of the Konoha Anbu that Naruto admired as a child. They were black and white. That's how they became famous as faceless. Third-level M-rank magicians. The faceless won't be engaged in the activities of monster exterminators anymore, will they? Asked Jake. There are no more faceless, there are only schoolchildren Naruto Uzumaki and Kagaya Otsutsuki. Kagaya answered. It was because of that incident, wasn't it? Flashback. One of the missions to eliminate a monster of the M rank of the ultimate level. Faceless, please save me. The girl screamed at two people who stood motionless and watched as their comrades were killed by monsters summoned by one M rank ultimate level monster. Darling, shall we help them? The girl asked. Who will confirm that they will not attack us to avenge the dead? The brunette asked. Please save me, their teammates screamed. Okay, answered Namikaze, whose face was hidden behind a black and white mask. He took out his katana and dealt with the monster in a few steps. Everyone had already started thanking him, as one of them had his head cut off by a white-haired girl, who took off her mask, thereby presenting her beauty to the world. Remember, those who will kill you are Naruto Namikaze and Kagaya Namikaze. Naruto smiled bloodthirstily, who also took off his mask. A few minutes later, rescue magicians arrived at the scene and saw only the remains of bodies, but they still couldn't find the faceless ones, which meant that they had escaped. End flashback. Still, they didn't tell Jake the truth, but lied that their comrades were killed by a monster. No, we're just tired of hunting monsters, they both said. Quote. Okay, I get it. Naruto, are you going to wake up or not? Kagaya shouted, hitting her husband with a pillow. Quiet, quiet, today is a day off. The guy answered sleepily. A day off. Today is Wednesday, you idiot. The white-haired girl shouted. Wednesday. Namikaze got scared and jumped up, falling out of bed. Exactly, we're late for school. The last of the Utsutsuki clan said. When we're over 2,000 years old, that sounds pretty weird. The elf replied. I know, but with our appearance we can afford it, after all, we didn't study in modern schools. Said Kagaya. What a hassle, answered the son of the fourth Hokage, then got up from the floor and went to the bathroom. Kagaya got out of bed, combed her hair and followed her beloved into the bathroom. She entered the bathroom and saw Naruto brushing his teeth, a puddle of ordinary water on the floor, and then looked closely at him and saw that he was wet from head to toe. How did you do that? Asked the elf. I turned on the shower by accident. answered Naruto, as if this happened to him every day. How did you turn on the shower while standing next to the sink? Asked the girl. Just like that, thought the son of Minato. What are you thinking about? Asked Kagaya. Nothing, get ready quickly. Naruto answered, finishing brushing his teeth, rinsing the brush and putting it in a special glass cup. Kagaya was surprised by such behavior of the only one who was with her all this time and followed him. Naruto put on a loose black t-shirt with the white inscription, Immortal, Immortal, black pants with red inserts on the sides, on which, Mortal, Mortal was written in white beautiful font. I don't know why, but I like this image. He went into the hallway and put on his black sneakers from the company, Puma. Kagaya put on white stockings, a black skirt and the same black t-shirt with the inscription, Immortal, in the center. I don't know the name of the hairstyle. If girls read the fanfic, then please tell me. The hairstyle was done like this, front strands that were tied at the back with an elastic band. She put on the same shoes as Naruto, however, the sneakers were women's and white. They took their bags and left the house. They walked to the car, a security guard opened the door for them, they got into the car, the door closed. The gates began to open at the push of a button. When they were fully open, the car drove out, and the gates to the yard began to close at the push of the same button. Jake, why go to school? Asked Naruto. You know yourself, Naruto-sama. Answered the guard and they continued on their way without saying a word. Damn, why did I even agree? Groaned one of the faceless, looking towards Kagaya. Naruto, do you know how to play magic football? Classmates asked the young guy. Magic football is a copy of the usual one, however, the field is huge, the participants use magic to move faster. The ball constantly changes its elements to make it harder to hold. Of course I can, how can you not know how to play magic football? Asked Naruto, remembering how he recently played this game. Then you will play for our school team. The teacher entered the classroom. What? Why me? This is a prestigious school, are there really so few people who can play? Asked the elf. Yes, exactly. Answered the woman. Good. What time is the game? Asked Naruto. Now, she said and left the classroom. All the students followed her. Ha ha, you will play, laughed Kagaya. Ha ha, how funny. The king of the ancient elves answered sacramentally. Well, are you going to use the new element? Asked the girl. Of course, answered Naruto, letting a small stream of air through the door, but the door was blown out by this unusual wind, which was black. Ha ha ha, and my water is not so chaotic, laughed Otsutsuki, creating white water in her hands and throwing it at her husband. He flew to the end of the desk and got stuck in the wall. Not so chaotic, you say? Asked Naruto. I was wrong, I admit. The girl admitted and left the classroom. What can you do with you? Namikaze said and went to the men's locker room to get his school uniform and change for the football game. Yes, in this football you can still maim enemies, so here it is. Their school uniform looked like this, white t-shirt, black shorts, red sneakers, blue griffin emblem. Naruto Namikaze, even with your powers and name, you have to try. Said the team captain, patted the black-haired man on the shoulder and left the locker room. Ha ha, you made me laugh. The strongest in this world has to try. Naruto laughed. Namikaze put on his uniform and left the locker room, after which he went to the football field. It was a stadium comparable to the training ground of his palace, it was under a barrier. Here is the stadium. Naruto smiled, entering his team sector. There are 20 of us, 9 reserves. Said the team captain. Who is on the reserves? Asked one of their team members. Bill, the following are left in the reserves. Naruto, Shiro, Kendo, Heka, Zeke, Ariel, Finn, Marto, Zabuza. Said the team captain. Then it turns out that they. Bill pointed his finger at the remaining 9 people. Don't point your finger at me, you brat. Said the guy who looked a lot like a girl. Haku, calm down. Said the captain, whose name was Dane. Dane, what are their names? Asked Bill. You already know one, Haku, the rest are, Yarui, Jay, Kimito, Piff, Yak, Mikhail, Sonya and Dewey. Said Dane. Got it, captain. On one side of the field, from the gates above which hung the coat of arms of the Blue Griffin, 11 participants of the prestigious school, Hanjodatori, came out. And on the other side, participants of another prestigious school came out, which is known as the School of Assassins because they always killed their opponents during competitions. Looks like today will be an interesting match, Bill said, hitting his fist with his palm. Be careful, they are serious opponents, Dane said, activating his poison cover. The other participants also got ready, and the time on the table was already running out, and when it reached 10, a female voice began to announce. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A voice came from the speakers, and after the word 1, the teams rushed at each other, although it would be more correct to say that the school of killers rushed to the enemies, and the school of allies to the ball. It would be something, but in the first few seconds they moved very quickly, which will later lead to bad consequences in the form of fatigue and lack of mana. And here it is, the first murder, which enraged the entire school, Hanjodatori, and they fell into a rage, and a new reserve fighter came on the scene, killed a guy named Jay. The allied school forgot about the ball and faced the opposing team. They killed everyone indiscriminately, there was even such a thing as chopping off the limbs of their allies by accident. And at this time, one of the killers made his way to the ball and rushed at full speed, saw an obstacle in his path in the form of Zabuza, who had just entered the field. Zabuza was an ordinary guy D, rank 3 levels, how unlucky he was that the enemy was C, rank 1 levels. The fight did not last even a minute, as the Ali's head flew off his shoulders, and his legs and arms were scattered around the immediate vicinity. I will not forgive, creature. Haku shouted, catching up with this killer, but the member of the allied team did not have time and the first ball was missed, to the worse advantage of his own. Don't give in to emotions. Naruto said to his ally. He turned with tears in his eyes, grabbed the black-haired man by the throat and raised him above the ground and shouted in an angry voice. What do you know? Zabuza was like a younger brother to me. Haku cried. Naruto's voice became like a madman. Do you know how many people died at my hands? Do you know how many loved ones I lost? All of them are dead, only Kagaya remained with me. Naruto said. What are you saying? Shouted the guy who had just lost his younger brother and hid Namikaze. Ha! Naruto smiled madly and almost hit Haku. When Dane stopped him, however, he almost died himself. Naruto, you're leaving with us. Dane said and left the sector. Let's see what you can do. The king of the ancient elves smiled and followed his captain. Round 2, the participants have regained their strength. Let the fun begin, the operator shouted. The air around the black-haired guy began to rage, and his eyes began to fill with madness. He decided to kill everyone again. Kagaya sighed, watching her husband. The spectators looked at her with confusion, and then in the direction where the elf was looking. They watched as the black air began to spin faster and faster around the guy from the Blue Griffin team. Let's have fun, the guy said and disappeared from his place. The killers were surprised, but then, noticing the slight swaying of the black air, they calmed down and watched with smiles as they got closer and closer to them. This was done at a fairly high speed. I hope you at least won't use your power to the fullest. Kagaya looked at her husband and talked to herself. People thought she was schizophrenic, but Naruto heard her perfectly. The first guy who was in the path of the mad black air currents ran forward at full speed to stop it before it reached the others. Before the kid had time to reach his goal, he was torn to pieces, and his only surviving leg fell into the hands of a spectator, who at first did not understand what happened, and then with a very loud scream threw her leg back onto the field. Blood was everywhere, even on the walls of the stadium. Even the school of assassins was stunned by such a sight. And one white-haired person simply hit herself on the forehead with her palm. Okay, we'll do without many murders, Naruto said, turning around, and then ran to the ball, though without the cover of air, because it is not eternal. You killed ours, and now you're just leaving, shouted one of the killers, taking out his swords and quickly jerking towards Naruto. Idiot, Kagaya said, watching the enemy burn in the fire. Naruto took the ball and it began to ooze magma. Weak. The guy who had more than 2,000 moved to the opponent's gate, put the ball on the line and scored it with a sigh. Blue Griffin sector. Naruto, you're something. Thank you. Assassin School sector. Release the secret weapon. He should have surpassed all of us put together by more than 100 times. Said the team captain. Captain, are you sure? He'll destroy everything there, shouted a member of the assassins. Follow the order. Good. Start of the round. Here's our secret weapon. The assassin smiled, coming out with a guy their age, but the aura around him was more overwhelming than that of ordinary assassins and even Naruto himself with limited powers. Is S really the first level rank? The Blue Griffins asked with fear. The second, Naruto said and slowly began to walk towards his strong enemy. Along the way, his body began to be covered in black lightning, black fire, black air, and the S rank's body was covered in purple water and red poison. So that's how it is, Naruto said, removing the first seal and his power increased to a rank 3 level. The hair of the two enemies began to rise up, and the wind ruffled their clothes from their strength. Let's begin, they muttered under their breath, stopped not far from half the center, and then quickly rushed towards each other. They clashed in close combat, where they were equal due to Namikaze's lightning, but in some moments he was stronger and still inflicted wounds, but he himself received damage to his body from the enemy's poison and he had already begun to cough up his blood a little. "You are weak," said the killer and jumped back, after which he began to form powerful spells of water and poison. Naruto, in turn, used only fire and air, which he did not have much developed, so at a rank of the 3rd level, he could not cope with an opponent of S. rank of the 2nd level with 2 elements, moreover, one could say, only fire. "Okay, let's laugh, Kagaya," Naruto said, and black lightning began to strike from behind him and even caught the barrier, which was at a fairly large distance from the two. Lightning of the gods. With these words, Naruto flew into his enemy and raised a huge cloud of dust. When it dissipated, everyone saw Naruto's body pierced through and through, in which a sword of rather large size stuck out, moreover, soaked in the enemy's poison, and no one saw the body of the killer, because it was destroyed. How did they understand this? The blood that covered Naruto's entire body and a large area near him and the dust scattering in the wind. And Naruto stood and couldn't move because he didn't have enough mana at A rank. A white-haired girl landed next to him, pressed a point on his hand, and he started moving. "So, do you feel freer at S rank?" Kagaya asked. "Much freer." Naruto smiled, and then put the seals on himself again up to B rank. "We'll remain B rank bugs until graduation," Naruto said. "Did you see that? A rank 3rd level destroyed S rank 2nd level. Sensation," the cameraman screamed. "A day has passed, and they're already writing articles about you," Kagaya said, handing Naruto a newspaper with information about his fight. "Why do I need such popularity? I don't want it," Namikaze whined. "It's okay, you'll live like this for a month or 2, and then they'll forget," the girl said. "You think so?" Minato's son asked. "Of course. Look, it's him." "Yes. He defeated the S rank, right?" Many whispered about this, seeing a couple of blue-eyed, attractive white-haired girl. She had a very beautiful figure and face, her hair was straight and long. She walked next to a tall guy, whose hair was extremely unruly and resembled a hedgehog on his head, and his red eyes instilled fear in those who looked into these eyes. Quite beautiful facial features. "How they piss me off," Naruto said to the girl who was walking next to him, taking his hand. "Don't pay attention. Firstly, you are handsome, and secondly, you destroyed the S rank of the 2nd level, so it's no wonder they look at you so askance," said the girl. "And if I had lost?" asked Uzumaki. "It would have been the same, probably, but not. He defeated the S rank, but he fought with the S rank mage and did not die." The girl laughed. "Damn, such popularity will upset me." The black-haired man was upset, to which his wife laughed loudly. "Naruto, the target will be there in 3, 2, 1. The girl's voice was heard in the earpiece. The sound of a sniper rifle shot was heard. A cartridge loaded with mana flew out of the gun and flew through the head of some important Russian mouse. "Kagaya, we are still schoolchildren, what war?" asked Naruto. He took his weapon, hung it on his back and ran to the cliff, because the meeting place of this mouse was near some mountain. The name of this mountain was Fisht. A mountain on the territory of Russia, near Adygea and Krasnodar Krai. I learned it from the wiki. My little one, we chose Japan ourselves, and now this is how things turned out. The elves have completely forgotten about their greatness. Kagaya also began to get ready, after which she turned around, ran to the cliff and jumped, flying down like a stone. "And if I hadn't made it in time?" asked Naruto, picking up his girlfriend and supporting himself with air magic. "I know you will make it," the white-haired girl answered, after which she turned around, took out 2 pistols and began shooting at the enemies flying behind them. "Still, a tail?" the guy asked. "Yeah," answered the last surviving ancient elf. After these words, the black air began to be supported by black fire and the speed increased several times. "It seems to me that we flew faster on the plane," asked Kagaya. "Don't you think so?" answered Namikaze. Naruto sat her on his back. She put both hands around her husband's neck and lay calmly on her back. "Comfortable?" asked Naruto. "Very," the former Otsutsuki answered, smiling. "Do we still have a lot of time?" asked the black-haired man. "Yes," answered the blue-eyed one. "Then there is no need to rush too much," the owner of Deadly Chakra smiled. "What is our next mission?" Naruto asked, after which he reported on the last mission, which was to kill the official. "The last mission in this war, whether it will be a success or a defeat depends on it. The mission is to take Moscow." "Take Moscow? Together?" the surprised guy asked. "No, a squad of 4 people, 2 of them are you and Kagaya, the rest are the best military magicians of the elf army, and the other squads will focus on distracting the forces. Your task is to destroy the mayor of Moscow and the president of Russia." Quite a difficult task, what will be the reward? Naruto asked. The most powerful artifacts in the treasury of the elves. Kagaya, the most powerful artifacts are the reward, do you think our blades will be there? Naruto asked. I don't know, I think they are kept as treasures, so they won't even hint to us about them. The girl answered, grinning. Maybe you're right, but I want to swing life so much, I don't even mind removing the seals to destroy all of Moscow in one fell swoop. Naruto smiled. Good idea, darling. The white-haired girl smiled and began to remove the seals from her right hand. Wait, get to the M rank and stop. Namikaze said, after which he also began to remove the seals from his left hand, reached the penultimate one and stopped at the fact that the last one was on his hand. Do you think that this much strength will be enough for us? Asked the girl. With our heads. Let's go, shouted one of the best military mages of the elven army, whose name was known throughout the race, Captain Rax. The name of the other was also known throughout the race, Captain Jang. Many bursts of shots, single and automatic, grenades, body parts and guns, there was everything here. Even fighters were flying over such a city, in which a large-scale battle was currently taking place. This city was the capital of Russia, Moscow. On the way of the main squad there were enemies, but they were quickly killed by the military. It was not very audible, because the weapons were equipped with the highest quality silencers, and the accuracy was not very poor due to the holographic sights. How much longer do we have to go? Asked Naruto. About 10 minutes to the main office, if without any problems in sight. Rax began to speak. One of the missiles flew towards this squad and Jung, who did not have time to jump back in time, was buried under stones from the explosion. Then another missile flew, which finished off the not very young, but not old captain of the elf army. Jung, shouted Rax, trying to get his friend from under the rubble, for which he paid with his life. Many shots from sniper rifles and a body with a lifeless look falls to the floor. So there are 2 of us left, said Naruto, after which he strengthened his body with chakra and mana. If we die before we can have the baby I wanted after school, we'll have it there. Kagaya said, then pointed her finger at the sky. We won't die, my dear, we won't die. Namikaze smiled after hearing the words and ran out. Many guns were pointed in their direction, but they didn't care. Some of the bullets caught the seal and it began to slowly disintegrate. A few minutes later, a pair of ancient elves entered the main office. They stood there for a few seconds and then there was a huge burst of energy, followed by an explosion comparable to a small atomic bomb. Etishka's gun. Soldiers from both sides shouted. A huge column of dust rose, among which the images of 2 people were not clearly visible. Kagaya, why did the seal break? Naruto shouted. How should I know, maybe the seal caught something. The girl shouted back. Never mind, lightning. The guy shouted and a lightning bolt of enormous size formed in his hand. He hit the floor with it along with his wife and a powerful impulse passed along the ground, followed by a wave of lightning, destroying everything and everyone in its path. I think it's time to go, said Naruto and began to crumble into small particles of dust along with Kagaya. Choose any artifact to suit your taste and color. I want these 2 swords. Naruto said, pointing his finger at 2 swords, black and white, on the blades of which, life, and death, were smelted. Okay, but they are not very good. I said that I want these 2 swords. Repeated Namikaze. And I, perhaps, will take this thing, said Kagaya, who took 2 bracelets in her hands. Good choice, these bracelets are suitable for everyone, they fill up with the user's full mana in a few hours and replenish mana instantly, in long battles, ideal. Thank you, I know that, said the girl. They chose these 4 items only because they used them in the past. Kagaya, are these the bracelets that the old man gave us? Asked Naruto. Yes, my love, those are the bracelets you are thinking of. Naruto, Kagaya, tell me, who are you? We are the ones who have been watching over these lands since the beginning of existence. They answered in unison and disappeared. Do you think he will guess? Asked the white-haired girl. No, he definitely won't guess, answered the red-eyed man. Something new was happening in one of the alleys of Tokyo, Japan. Some guy was pestering a girl who looked to be 10 or 12 years old. Dude, are you sure you haven't mixed up the 2? Asked a tall, black-haired guy, whose eyes gleamed red in the darkness. Hello, go on where you were going. The man cursed, after which the remains of his head fell to the floor, and the girl, frightened even more, began to cry. Don't be afraid, your older brother will not let anyone hurt you. What is your name? The guy asked. They don't call me, I come myself. The girl answered, laughing. Ha ha ha, okay. What is your name? He asked. Yumi. And what is yours? Asked the red-haired girl. Naruto. He answered with a smile, after which he took the girl on his back and went somewhere, and somewhere was his house, where one person was already waiting for him. He walked through the city and asked the girl everything about her life. She answered briefly, and at the end of the journey she completely fell asleep. Naruto, where have you been hanging out? Kagaya began to get angry. Are you jealous? Namikaze smirked. Of course not, I know that you love only me, fool. The former Otsutsuki smiled. Look who's with me, Naruto said, carefully removing the girl from behind his back. Who is this? Asked Kagaya. This is Yumi, now she is our little sister, so to speak. Naruto answered. How cute she is, the white-haired girl shouted, hugging the girl. Sis, who are you? The red-haired girl woke up. Yumi, now your name is Yumi Namikaze, and I am your older sister and your brother's girlfriend, Kagaya Namikaze. The blue-eyed girl answered. Brother, are you dating your sister? Yumi asked. No, it's hard to say. She is my wife. Naruto smiled. Naruto, I want to eat, said Kagaya, who was now lying in a yellow beanbag chair, scrolling through something on her tablet. Order pizza if you're lazy, it doesn't mean I want to cook something. Namikaze answered with his eyes closed, but the white-haired girl woke him up. What a baka you are! Kagaya shouted, puffing out her cheeks. Kagaya, you are 30 years old, what kind of games are you playing? Naruto asked, opening one eye. What 2000? I am a young, beautiful, goal-oriented girl who is not even 20. She answered with a smile. If you think about it, I am the same, only not a girl, fortunately. The red-eyed guy sighed heavily. Hello, can we get pizza? The address is, Jade Street, Building 1. Kagaya said into the phone. Kagaya, is that for you? Namikaze asked. This is for us. The blue-eyed girl shouted. Great, I'm hungry too. The ruler of the ancient elves smiled happily. Brother, I want some too. A girl of about 8 years old ran into the room. Yumi, you and I will definitely share. Kagaya smiled affectionately. After these words, Yumi cried joyfully. Hooray! A duck's quack rang loudly in the house. It was the bell Naruto liked. Here's the pizza. The brunette smiled and stood up to go and get it, but Kagaya interrupted him. No need, I'll get it myself. The last surviving elven clan Otsutsuki went to the entrance of the house, opened the door and saw a rather elderly man. What lady, maybe we'll go for a walk? Asked the pizza delivery man. A fork flew very quickly near his neck, causing hot water to flow down his legs. Who did you want to walk with? Naruto asked, standing in the darkness. His eyes gleamed red, like a cat's. It looked rather creepy. I'm a member of the 9 Lights, you're in trouble. He shouted and ran away with the pizza. Still, we'll have to go get the pizza ourselves. Naruto sighed heavily, then put on his shoes and left the house. He walked along the street straight to the pizzeria, but heard someone running behind him, stopped and turned around. It was Kagaya and Yumi. They walked a little further and entered the pizzeria, approached the counter and asked for 2 large pizzas. Didn't you order pizza from us? Asked the girl, handing over a piece of paper with the order written on it. Oui, the delivery guy was a little stunned and pestered my son. Answered Naruto with a little anger. Haha, he's such a piece of shit, I can't stand him, though, he's a member of one of the strongest groups in Tokyo, 9 Lights. I don't know why he works here, maybe they've already expelled him. Answered the pizzeria worker. Your pizza will be ready in 10 minutes. She said. Okay, we'll wait, it's for home delivery. Said Namikaze. They sat down at a table and waited for the moment when they would leave this pizzeria and eat hot pizza. Haha, yes, you're right. Some guy with 2 girls arm in arm walked into the pizzeria. Oh, how amazing. The one who had just entered was surprised, looking at Kagaya. A small hand quickly rushed towards him and a few seconds later he was pressed into the wall of the pizzeria. Can I have some tea? Naruto asked the worker he had just ordered pizza from. Yumi, I can stand up for myself too, right? Kagaya frowned. Little sister, am I awake? The little girl asked happily. Yes, Yumi, you've awakened, immediately D, rank level 2, not far from us, we're only at about C, rank. Naruto confirmed, taking a cup of tea in his hand. He watched as Kagaya got up from the table, took Yumi's hand and walked up to the boy, who had only just now realized what situation he was in. Young ladies, please, I didn't mean to, he begged with tears in his eyes and his forehead on the floor. Yumi, remember how Naruto taught you to mock people? Otsutsuki asked with a sadistic smile. Of course I remember, the girl shouted with the same smile. Ah. Grandpa, tell me more about Naruto and Kagaya, their appearance. A little elf boy asked his grandfather to tell him about two elf legends. Okay, Naruto was quite a tall and attractive man. He had black hair and red eyes. He is very cruel, but at the same time kind to his loved ones. However, no one knows how he died, so maybe somewhere now he is killing another victim. He has two types of energy, chakra and mana. He and one other person survived the great catastrophe of the earth, which destroyed everything that exists. His blade, life, disappeared a few days ago, as well as death. Kagaya's blade, the blades from the last part that Naruto took are fake. Kagaya was the complete opposite of Naruto, white hair, blue eyes, an attractive figure and a cute face, an icon, in a word. She is the second person who survived the great disaster, just like Naruto, two types of energy, but she is kind to everyone, but not always. Grandpa told the boy. Grandpa, isn't that them? The boy pointed his little finger out the window at two young men and a girl walking between a white-haired, blue-eyed girl who had the same facial features as in the description and a black-haired guy whose red eyes were so frightening. These are definitely Naruto Namikaze and Kagaya Otsutsuki, later, Namikaze as well. The grandfather shouted, taking his grandson in his arms, and then ran out of the house and ran after the three people. The red-haired girl, maybe Naruto's daughter, but not Kagaya's. No, it can't be, maybe the other way around. No, that's also rejected. The old man thought. He caught up with the three and took the black-haired man by the shoulder. Honorable Namikaze, I was waiting for you to appear. The old man smiled and knelt down on one knee in front of them. Allow me to ask a question. Is this your daughter? The old man asked, looking at Yumi. No, this is the little sister. Naruto answered. How did you know that I am Namikaze as well? The girl looked at the old man in surprise. You underestimate the capabilities of your own group, Kagaya-sama. The old man smiled. Hanagram, I didn't think that our group still existed. Naruto was surprised. Yes, we have existed since 1239. The grandfather smiled. How many people are in Hanagram now? Asked Kagaya. 10. The old man answered. What level are you at? Naruto asked. M rank, 3rd level, absolutely everyone. The old man answered with a smile. Not bad, not bad. Are you a criminal group or good guys? Namikaze asked. Naruto-sama, we followed in your footsteps, we are one of the most dangerous groups in the world. The old man smiled. So, in my footsteps. How many have you killed already? Naruto asked. More than 1,000, we are free killers, we kill when we want. The old man answered. Then answer the last question. How many have I killed? Asked the king of the ancient elves. You have killed more than 10 million. The old man answered. Correct. Naruto smiled. Where is your headquarters? Kagaya asked. Our headquarters are not in any of the cities, they are not even on the faction map. We have settled down on Everest. So, Yumi, do you want to visit the mountains? Naruto asked, picking up Yumi in his arms and then putting her on his neck. Of course, brother. Yumi shouted with a smile on her face. Do we still have a long way to go? Yumi asked. No, sister, we have already arrived. Naruto answered and an image of a huge castle began to appear in front of him. You are old-fashioned, haha, just like us. Kagaya laughed. Of course, after all, you are the founder of this base. We thought you had already torn it down and built a new one, the pair of elves replied in surprise. We are keeping everything in order, not even a crack has appeared on the wall of this castle. The old man smiled. Old man Rod, who did you bring? Asked a big man almost 2 meters tall. Does the name Naruto Namikaze mean anything to you? Asked the old man, smiling. So it is you, Naruto-sama, Kagaya-sama, glad to see you. This big man knelt down in front of Naruto and Kagaya. Get up, no need to treat with such respect. Naruto and Kagaya smiled. Explosion. That's what the four heard after a short conversation. What kind of bomber is that? Asked Naruto, turning around and walking towards the explosion. Don't be afraid, the base will not be destroyed, we all personally put a barrier on it, so only you can destroy it. The old man smiled. Kagaya, go put a stronger barrier. Naruto said. Naruto, they are our followers, I can't stop you. Otsutsuki was scared. Don't be afraid, I won't punish them too much. Namikaze said, picked up Yumi in his arms and walked towards the explosion. Kagaya ran up to the wall and began to form a magic circle with one hand, and with the other, to collect natural life chakra in order to put the most powerful barrier on this base. A few seconds later, the hand with chakra glowed white, completely, and from the other hand a magic circle came out, which was larger than Kagaya herself. All the power went into the base and Otsutsuki tried to break through it with a weak technique, Chidori, but it didn't work. Perfect. She smiled and went to catch up with Naruto, along with Old Man Rod and the big guy. Several people were raging in the room. Well, how to say several, there was a battle going on here. The room was not so small, it was huge. Ha ha ha. Girls, you will lose. Laughed four guys standing on one side of the room. Grandpa, tell me their names. Asked Naruto, who entered the room. Those guys are Sefle Litoari, VRT Litoari, Furlu Halio, Terran Kitret. He said, pointing his finger towards the four guys. And what are the names of the young ladies? Asked Namikaze. Altia Latin, Zenina Xialio, Siloa Ichuoa, Alua Ichuoa. Answered the old man. So, I understand, smiled the king of the ancient elves. Should we watch or interfere? The big guy asked the old man. Loon, we need to find out from Naruto-sama. Answered the old man. Naruto-sama, maybe we should interfere. Asked Loon. Let's watch this and then we'll see. Smiled Naruto. 8 flashes rushed towards each other and a battle between 4 girls and 4 guys began in the center of the room. Sefle sent a small volcano across the floor, and Althea sent a tsunami, which extinguished the fog. VRT and his earth element struck, causing cracks to appear on the ground. Zenina made a huge red magic circle, and after that, a huge fireball appeared. Terran smiled, and a blue magic circle appeared in front of him in an instant, and then a huge wall of water. Sefle created a large stream of fire, and Furlu strengthened this stream with his air element. VRT created a huge stone spear, and Terran began to send out ice blades that were larger than himself. A huge, joint spell began to be created, which the boys began to create. The team of the opposite sex repeated the same, but from Zenina came water waves, near Altea a fire tsunami formed, Siloa created poisonous blades and, in the end, Alua, the most genius of them all, created 2 spells at once, lava boulders and an arrow of darkness with a size of more than 4 meters. The spells flew towards each other. One guy put on a faceless mask and appeared in the center of this storm. A swing of the sword and all the forces were dispersed. Both teams were surprised that even Old Rod could not disperse this storm. Who are you? They all asked the same question. The black-haired one began to take off the mask and everyone was faced with the face of a young, handsome, red-eyed youth. My name is the Legend of Death, Naruto Namikaze. He smiled. Naruto Namikaze, is that the legendary warrior of our people? They were surprised. He is not alone here, said the white-haired girl who appeared next to him. My name is the Legend of Life, Kagaya Namikaze. She smiled. Hello, Naruto-sama, Kagaya-sama. They knelt down in front of the pair of ancient elves. Stand up, no need for such respect. Naruto said this for the second time that day. Naruto-sama, how did you manage to survive? Asked the fighters of Hanagram. Who said that we would die from such an explosion? Asked Naruto. After that explosion, all of Brazil was recovering. Shouted the members of Hanagram. Will you defeat my friend? He is a little weaker than me, said Naruto. I can handle it alone. Cephalage stepped forward. Okay. Naruto smiled and raised his hand, after which a small smoke rose and a small wolf appeared in front of everyone. Baby Naruto, you haven't changed much. The wolf smiled. Zen, you're not much different yourself. Naruto chuckled. So why did you call? Asked the black-haired one. Defeat this kid. Namikaze pointed his finger at Sefle. Do you think this wolf will defeat me? The elf was surprised. With ease, Naruto said, and after that Sefle jumped back and attacked with fireballs. I'll show you the true power of M rank, shouted one of the Litoari brothers. After that, a huge lava flow began to form, even more for the weak combined spells of the teams. The wolf smiled predatory and opened his mouth. From there, he shot a black beam and destroyed the lava flow, and then reached the elf, who flew into the wall with a broken shoulder. Attack all together, Naruto said and jumped on the enlarged Zen. The teenagers disappeared from their places and appeared in front of Zen. He was a little surprised by such speed of these children, but this is more interesting than weaklings. They began to hit the wolf, but he did not care with his defense and mana, he had not used chakra yet. Naruto and Kagaya's followers combined their blows to somehow damage the wolf, which they succeeded in. The wolf flew into the wall from the combined blow of all the teenagers, but they did not stop there, put mana into their fists and jumped on the wolf. He stood up, his eyes glowed black and he grinned predatorily. The black-haired one ducked, and then pushed off the ground with his paws and appeared behind the teenagers, reduced his size and hit Althea with his paw. The girl flew into the wall and stayed there. Lost consciousness. The wolf's eyes glowed black again, he looked at everyone and they were pierced by terrible pain. What is this? They asked. This is fear control, kids. The wolf laughed. Fireworks flew up from the yard of one house, in which 2 teenagers and a child lived. "Happy New Year, brother, sister," the red-haired girl shouted to her elders. "And you too, Yumi," Naruto and Kagaya answered. Very suddenly, explosions and screams of people began everywhere, crying. "Great start to the year, hello, 2018. Naruto shouted. After that, he pulled his wife and little sister towards him and released a large pulse of his chakra. Everything around was scattered, not a trace of the house was left. It was such a cool house, holy shit. An airplane was flying over Tokyo, a hatch in the lower part of the plane opened and 2 warheads fell out. Harsh. Naruto was surprised and put his hands out to the sides, Kagaya repeated after him. The barrier of darkness and light. They whispered and a barrier formed around. Somewhere in the distance, the warheads had already touched some other physical body and activated. The explosion was quite large, all of Tokyo was destroyed, only a few strong magicians survived. This is how you decided to act, Americans. Naruto, where is Van now? Asked Kagaya. He should be in Paris. Let's go. Naruto said, and with the help of the air element he took off. Kagaya was in his arms, and Yumi was sitting on his neck. Convenient of course, Namikaze said sarcastically. Don't mumble, let's fly. Utsutsuki answered and they disappeared from their place. Van, you fucking vampire, open up. Naruto pounded on the door. Who wants to die like that? A voice was heard behind the door. The door opened and Naruto's body began to grow, but a second later everything stopped. The vampire flew away from the 3 and got stuck in the wall. Don't forget that I already have immunity to your blood spells and stuff, ha ha. The king of the ancient elves laughed. Oh, Naruto, it's you. The vampire smiled. Of course I do, who could throw you back like that? Asked Namikaze. But we were equal before. I'm also at G, rank 3. Van was surprised. While you were resting, I was training, besides, how many I've already absorbed. You can't even imagine how much life energy is in my chakra, and there will be less in mana, but still not a little. Naruto smiled. Higher than G, rank. And how should I address you? Your Highness. Although, no. God. Naruto's old friend asked. As you wish. It's time to make yourself known again. Naruto said. Do you want to break into the meeting of the 8 great races? Asked Van. Of course, that's why we came to you. Namikaze smiled. Ha ha, what a good informant I am. It's a good thing I came, the meeting will be held tomorrow in this city. Van answered with a smile. Where are you staying? Asked Van. In Kinrai. The owner of the power of death smiled. Van choked on such an answer. How much money do you have? Asked the vampire. A lot. Namikaze smiled. By the way, I created a new artifact. I called it the Mysterious Lantern. Naruto said and raised his left hand, wrapped in steel chains, and below dangled an ancient lantern with a green flame inside. Why are you walking around with it? Asked Van. Doesn't want to let go, besides. Naruto took the vampire by the shoulder and moved him to an open field, then put his left hand to the side where there was no one and said 2 words, Green Hell. A huge stream of green flame burst out of the lantern and absorbed everything in its path, went exactly a kilometer and stopped, in the form of a small flame, exploded. With this action, it destroyed everything within a kilometer radius. What is this? Van's eyes popped out and asked this question. It's a lantern. Naruto smiled. In one hall, which was in a building located in Paris, there were 8 people. These people were representatives of the 8 great races, humans, elves, orcs, demons, dragons, angels, werewolves and dwarves. Dragons. Why the hell did you drop warheads on the territory of our country? Asked the representative of the elves. Isn't it clear? We want war, said the man with scales and a tail, as well as very sharp claws. These were dragons in their human form. Elves and dragons. We didn't come here to settle personal scores. The world is threatened by dungeons and monsters. The representatives of the main races shouted. We apologize, 2 representatives answered. We are all already M rank, and you behave like children, said the representative of the demons. Juman, shut your mouth, shouted the representative of the angels, which was Nina. It seems like you are already several hundred, and you behave like little children, smiled Henna, the representative of the werewolves. Laura, how are things with you in Africa? Laughed the representative of the dragons, Sand. Shut your mouth, filthy dragon, if our 6 titans were alive, you would have been finished off a long time ago, the representative of the people was angry. Varric, start the meeting, he said calmly. Stop, why are you starting without us? The representatives heard these words, and then the door to the assembly hall flew out and they saw 2 silhouettes, a guy and a girl. Red eyes and black hair, very similar to one legend, and the girl had white hair and the purest heavenly eyes. It seems we're in trouble. Varric grinned and stood up from the table, and everyone else repeated after him. 10 more people entered behind the elf legends. Naruto-sama, should we kill them? Cephle asked. Quiet, they're too tough for you. Namikaze smiled. Is the Namikaze family really back? Juman laughed. Everyone heard quiet sighs and looked towards the sealed door. Ahahaha, the orc was killed to hell. Naruto laughed. It seems the elves and orcs started a war. No, I don't want to get involved in your intrigues. I am here to tell you that all your capitals have been destroyed. We are, Hanagram, those who want to learn the secrets of the world. Naruto and Kagaya smiled, and then disappeared. They want to learn the secrets of the world, and our capitals have been destroyed. Varric was angry. Quiet, dwarf, you understand that they are in trouble, right? Hiyu asked. Yes, they will not stand against all the races. Sand smiled. We need to destroy them, wipe them off the face of the earth. Laura stood and muttered to herself in anger. Achoo! Everyone from the Hanagram group sneezed. Looks like they already want to kill us. Naruto smiled. Naruto-sama, can we attack strong zones with animals and dungeons in threes? Silhouette asked. Okay, there are only 8 of you, and with the others, 12. Kagaya contacted the fact. Yes, I'll go with Cephlame and VRT to the territory of North America, straight to the dragons. Furlu smiled. Then I'll go with Altea and Alua to Australia. To the orcs, Silhouette said, and they left the hall. How impatient, Furlu, you should do it faster too, said Old Man Rod. I'll take Terran and Zenina with me, we'll go straight to Africa, until we capture at least 50%, we won't leave. Said Lung and left the room. Well, Kagaya, Old Man Rod, we have 2 territories left, Eurasia and South America. Old Man Rod, where are you going? Asked Naruto. I'll go to South America, settle my personal scores with the angels. The old man grinned madly. Kagaya, it looks like we'll go give stars to 5 races at once. Said Namikaze. Yumi, you train for now, and then you'll come with us. Kagaya smiled at the girl and they left the base. Okay, little sister. Naruto, what is our goal? Asked Kagaya, cutting another elf who attacked her in half. You know, Kagaya, I want to kill the gods. Naruto smiled madly. I'm with you, Kagaya said. Okay, wifey. Naruto smiled and his eyes glowed black. Naruto, can you maintain the 4th mode for a long time? Kagaya asked. At least for the rest of your life. The Legend of Death answered. Okay, then I guess I can too. The former Otsutsuki said, her eyes glowed white, and the pressure from the chakra and mana increased around her. Wifey, sit down and try to break through. Naruto was surprised. Kagaya followed her husband's instructions and in a few hours everything was ready. Now there were 2 people in the world who had gone beyond the G rank, but a few minutes later they saw several more beams of different colors in the sky. Haha, the kids also broke through, but, however, at the G rank. Naruto laughed. Naruto, is it normal that they broke through faster than we did in the past? Kagaya asked. I think it's because we can destroy several dozen enemies equal to us in rank, and if the rank is lower, several tens of thousands. Naruto answered. Perhaps you're right, said the heiress of the Otsutsuki clan. Naruto, actually, I'm pregnant. Kagaya smiled. Yes, how far along already? Naruto was surprised. 2 weeks. Namikaze smiled again. I'll be a father soon, haha. The guy rejoiced. I wonder what our child will be like. Kagaya thought. Of course, as handsome as I am. Namikaze giggled. And if it's a girl? Asked the former Otsutsuki. You know who she'll look like. The guy answered. Legends, surrender, were all G rank. Said Juman, next to whom the other 8 representatives of the great races were standing. Sorry, kids, but we have to go there. Naruto raised his finger and pointed upwards, smiling. Haha, you decided to joke in the face of death. Juman smiled, around whom a volcano had already begun to form. Forming a volcano, do you think it will help? Naruto grinned, took out life, and cut off the head of the demon leader. He is G rank. How so? The others looked at Juman's falling head in horror. He simply underestimated his enemy. Naruto smiled and began to walk towards them. The elf lord formed 2 swords from bloody lightning and rushed at Naruto. They clashed in close combat and fought quite hard, considering all the rocks that no longer exist on Mount Everest. The other 6 lords did not stand still and the dragon lord took his true dragon form. The lizard was black with great wings, he belched flames, but when it dissipated, everyone saw how Naruto stood unharmed. putting his hand forward and releasing chakra, and the elf lord bounced back from his enemy with a severe wound, in the form of a pierced solar plexus. Nina, don't heal me, no one survives such a wound. Hiyu smiled and closed his eyes. For a while, we became allies. Nina smiled and opened her angel wings. Now we will not stand and watch, she said, took out her bow and began to shoot at Naruto, who was standing calmly, while the guy stood and repelled the arrows of light. Who knew that you would come to us yourself, Keys? Naruto was surprised, pushing off from the air and flying straight to Henna. The werewolf took her true form, a bear, and the angry roar of this beast was heard throughout the area. Managed to block my attack, strong paws. Namikaze was surprised, and then saw the bloody paws of the werewolf representative. Still, only one attack. He rushed at her again, but the other representatives ran forward and put up a common barrier, which, fortunately for them, did not collapse with one blow, but after the 10th, it was as if it had never been. Laura, Varric, Sand, Nina, it seems I'm leaving you. Henna smiled. Really? Nina was surprised, having healed Henna. My little one, come on. Okay, Kagaya. Black and white lightning formed in the hands of the couple and they looked at their opponents with smiles. It's time for you to die, Keys. Naruto said and, together with his wife, pushed off from the air. They broke through another barrier of representatives, but this time no one except Nina survived. You are tenacious, Angel. Kagaya said, watching as Nina tried to get up. Nothing was left of the representatives' bodies, and the skinned Nina received the least damage due to her defense and because the other representatives were standing in front of her. You'll play yourself to the end someday, huh? She spat out blood and lost her head from death. Brother, sister, what is this? Yumi stood in horror and watched as Naruto and Kagaya, completely covered in blood, stood and looked at her. It's what you thought. They are all dead, the portal to the top is open. Now the last part remains. To get into it, with the help of the sacrifice of the last-born vampire. Yumi, forgive me, Naruto said, took out a dagger and pierced the heart of his little sister. Brother, sis, I will pursue you until the end of your wanderings. Yumi said, closing her amber eyes, which gradually became more and more dim. The path to the gods is open. Yellow light pierced the heavens, which meant the entrance to the world of the gods, Katakurumi. In one of the 3 palaces of this world, the Palace of Blood, which belonged to the Scarlet Goddess, Emma, who was also called the Blood Deity, but now is not about that. In general, chaos was happening in this palace of hers, because someone outsider entered the world of the gods and the first, protective, structure was just this Palace of Blood, because these 2 objects can be those who came for the heads of the gods. The guardians of the Goddess of Blood were consumed by fear, but Enna herself sat calmly, because she knew that she was a goddess and nothing threatened her with her abilities. Everyone calm down. Emma got up from her chair, loudly hitting the table. All the guardians of the blood fell silent and stared at their mistress. An order came from Jigokudai. Jigokudai is the goddess of death, said Emma. Mistress, what is there? Do we really need to kill these intruders? Asked one of the guardians. Not exactly. We only need to kill one of these 2, the elder one even sent information about them, and this duo is strange. Such interesting abilities, even I'm not sure that I can handle 2 at once. Emma looked through the letter from the goddess of death in surprise. I think we can complete this task, but you should still back us up, it's a little scary. The guardians said. Okay, I'll watch not far away. Emma said. Kagaya, I want to adjust to this world, can you wait a few hours? Naruto asked. Of course I can, I don't think anyone will attack us. The girl smiled and began to watch how the energy in Naruto's body goes beyond him and he gradually falls asleep. What can you do, it's boring. Kagaya-san, how can I say it to you, but Naruto-sama fell into hibernation for several decades due to the strength of the energy of these places. So I was lucky to hear that they want to kill you. People from the Temple of Blood. Temple of Blood? Kagaya asked. Yes, the Temple of Blood. One of the 3 temples of the world of gods, the Temple of the Goddess of Blood, Emma. The first goddess, whom Naruto wants to kill, herself. The second is the Goddess of Fate, you do not need to know her name yet, as well as the name of the last goddess, the Goddess of Death, a perfect being. And who are you? Asked Kagaya. You do not need to know me, the main thing is that I help you. Why are you helping me? The white-haired girl was surprised. You don't need to know that either. Why are you hiding like that? Mistress, is some unidentified object wandering near Kagaya, should we kill it? Asked one of the guardians. No, what will you do if it's Naruto, and the one sitting under the tree is an illusion? Asked Emma. You're right, we need to think about everything. Tell me, guardians, why did I become only the goddess of blood, why? Why does everything always go to her? Am I not like her? Shouted Emma. Mistress, this Jigokudai girl is just lucky. Initially she wasn't even a god, just an ordinary mortal, and now she just got the power of perfection. I hate her. Do you think that if we team up with Mikuro, we can defeat Jigokudai? Asked Emma. We don't even have a chance. Why? She is a perfect god, surpassed all other gods and became the one who stands at the top of this world. All her power is equal to 5 other gods. That is, 5 gods are needed, but there are only 2, because the others are dead. Or you need to find someone who will be stronger than even Jigokudai herself. There is no such person. What an interesting fate this mortal has, quite interesting. Although, I do not like my fate connected with him, but I will have 2, because I hate her. Guardians. Yes, my lady. We are going to one mortal. Mikuro-sama, what mortal could interest you? Well, all you need to do is sacrifice yourself to him. Answered Mikuro. What to do? Mikuro-sama, why? I hate Jigokudai, only he can kill her. Answered the goddess of fate. There is no person who can defeat even you. I agree with you, he won't be able to defeat even me, the weakest of the gods, but there is something in him that hasn't been revealed yet. Said the weakest of the gods. So we will have to listen to him. It turns out that way. He will soon become a guardian. Naruto had been meditating for several years, but the results still hadn't appeared. Inside his world, he felt someone approaching, but he thought it was Kagaya and didn't pay much attention. The guy felt a touch and didn't understand what was happening. He began to be sucked out of his inner world. He immediately prepared for battle, but at the end of this ritual, he saw a rather young blue-haired girl in front of him. Hello, Naruto-kun, my name is Mikuro, I am the goddess of fate. I have come to you about your destiny. And what is it about my destiny that the goddess of fate herself came to me? Naruto asked in surprise. That's it, she said and stretched out her hands to his face, took his cheeks and tenderly kissed him on the lips. Naruto was surprised and wanted to throw it away, as he noticed that his power level was noticeably increasing, and Mikuro was gradually disappearing. We met and my time has come, Naruto-kun, good luck to you. Now you are the new god of fate. Meanwhile, somewhere else. Kagaya, give up, you do not have enough strength to resist me. Smiled the goddess of blood, Emma. We need to hold out until she arrives. Thought Kagaya, after which she took out her blade and entered her final form. She glowed brightly white and 3 elements raged around her, water, fire and lightning. You want to resist me, commendable. Grinned Emma and the guardians standing around her committed harakiri. All the blood from their bodies flowed out and howled into the air, succumbing to the control of the goddess of blood. It looks like vampires, but I know how to resist them. Said Kagaya and closing her eyes rushed at the goddess of blood. The goddess who dodged the first blow and struck Kagaya with blood, she felt the vibrations of magic from the goddess and sent a combination of 3 elements in that direction. The bloody one created a spear of blood and struck Kagaya in the leg. She instantly healed the wound, after which she struck Emma in the forehead, but she put a block of blood and Kagaya's weapon began to dull. Kagaya received a blow to the left shoulder, a very strong blow. Blood began to flow out of the wound and Emma, noticing this, took control of all the blood in Namikaze's body and stopped its flow. A 2-handed sword flew at Emma and she jumped away from the girl. In place of the sword appeared the silhouette of a girl in a cloak and taking a 2-handed sword, decapitated Kagaya. Thank you for the saved strength. Thanked the unknown and absorbed Kagaya's body, disappeared. The new god of fate woke up in a cold sweat, seeing his possible fate and began to think about how he could change it. But after all that he realized, tears began to flow down his cheeks. He realized that he lost the most precious person to him, Kagaya. I will take revenge, Naruto said. Fate. Hello, or what? Jigokudai. Naruto said with flashes of anger in his eyes. Naruto, have you arrived yet? The goddess of death smiled. I will take revenge for Kagaya's murder, by any means necessary. Naruto said, pulling out 2 blades from their sheaths, the name of which was, Life and Death. Do you want to kill me with her weapons? Well, now I will show you the difference between our powers. I also became a god, so there is no difference. Let's see now. After the goddess's words, corpses of people began to appear from under the ground, after which everyone's eyes began to open and they began to attack Naruto. What nonsense, Naruto thought as he watched the warriors he had fought with earlier, as well as friends, comrades, and those who had any meaning to him, emerge from the ground. Unfortunately, because Kagaya destroyed her soul, I won't be able to resurrect her, but I think the moral damage has already been done to you. Jigokudai smiled. You're not playing fair. If I had the same ability, then we would talk. Although, I don't even know if you have any close people. Naruto thought. Kill yourself, and then resurrect against me. It doesn't work that way, so. The goddess of death waved her hand at Naruto and the army of death headed towards him. I understand that they are all dead, but this is too terrible. Naruto said, and lightning, fire and wind began to envelop him. An army superior to all other armies that Naruto fought with began to move towards Naruto. He flew into the crowd, receiving small scratches from weapons that pierced the cover of lightning and his other elements. Some special warrior punched a red-eyed man, causing him to fly away and crash into a wall, after which some girl fired a cannon at him, and Napoleon's entire army came to her aid, and Naruto was under constant fire. Seeing that the same special warrior who had crashed him into the wall was flying at him, Namikaze quickly moved behind him and decapitated him, but he crumbled and began to rise from the ground again. An eternal army? He asked the goddess of death. I don't know, she answered with a grin. It was stupid to ask. He muttered, fighting off another warrior, after which he got tired of all this fuss and entered endless death mode. Two black horns appeared on his forehead and an aura of death began to spin around Naruto, killing everyone who got into its zone, but those who fell under the aura did not resurrect again. It's time for me to start too. Jigokudai chuckled. She took out a strange spear and flew into the place where Naruto was, not paying attention to the warriors. She deprived the brunette of his hand and wounded his right leg in the knee. After losing his hand, he could no longer hold one of the two blades and, death, was lost somewhere in the huge gathering of all peoples and races. The power of fate had already gone into battle. Naruto began to change his spiritual fate, changing the essence of the soul, thereby blocking the flow to this same soul. After these actions, Jigokudai will not be able to resurrect certain troops, but this will require a lot of strength. A black flash began to form on Naruto's horns, flying forward a little, it exploded, destroying everything around, within a radius of several meters. The number of the army was reduced, but not significantly, about 1/10 of all those resurrected. Several warriors appeared near him, who had previously pressed Naruto into the wall, and he was surprised by this, because he had changed the essence of the soul of quite a large number, but they still did not end and new ones came. They united into one huge machine and with one blow sent the elf to the other end of the army. The only remaining blade was covered with an aura of death and with one touch the god of fate could send warriors back to the next world. But without keeping himself waiting, the armies of many generals came and began to crush Naruto, inflicting many wounds that ordinary warriors could not inflict before. Naruto entered the maximum stage of death and thus destroyed one army, but there were still more than 100 armies that were united into one very numerous colossus, which can be called the Legion. A black lightning struck the epicenter of all events, taking a large number of troops to the next world. And in the center stood Naruto, already exhausted. Around him were many souls who were already heading to the other world. But the battle was not over yet and there was still Jigokudai with many generals, and there was also Likar. With the signature cry, Elf Lightning, the teacher struck his student, piercing his stomach, but he himself lost his second life. The entire army began to disappear, and the goddess of death appeared a few meters away from Naruto. Second Fate. Naruto whispered very quietly under his breath. Second Fate was a spell that could be used once, and the user would be resurrected a few moments before their death, looking for all the ways to change their fate, but it was not always possible to change it and users died for the same reason as the first time, without thinking of a way to avoid their death. You see, Naruto. The goddess of death began to speak, sitting on a stone next to the red-eyed guy, whose body was a little battered. Legless and with one arm, a hole in his stomach. Are these the last words I should have said before my death? True Elf asked with a smile and pain in his eyes. You can say that, Bunny. The girl smiled. Well, speak, don't drag it out, otherwise I'll die without hearing your words. The brunette said. It's okay, I can resurrect, it's not for nothing that I'm perfect. Okay, I'll tell you now. You were the one I watched from Katakurumi, I admired you even though I am the goddess of death and the one who rules the world. If you only knew how my heart ached when I saw how tenderly you treated this Kagaya and in the end, when you came, I decided to kill her. I ordered Emma to kill your beloved and this, Naruto, was done because I was jealous of her. Naruto, I love you, said the goddess of death, but Naruto no longer heard her words. End, fate. Now I have an idea on how to change my fate. Naruto came to fight Jigokudai. According to the same scenario, he lost to the goddess, but there were no words, second fate, and instead he lay and listened to what she was saying. Thank you for your time. Naruto thanked, standing up on his emerging legs and arm. His stomach had also recovered and the guy already had two blades in his hands. What are you? Asked the goddess. Just an elf. Naruto said, doing something that Jigokudai did not expect. He took away her hand, an action she considered impossible since she was already an absolute being. Surprised? Asked Namikaze. Yes, she answered. Energy began to accumulate at the end of the goddess's spear, after which the spear began to glow and show its true power. Several lasers immediately destroyed the entire environment, but Naruto did not have time to react and was cut in half, but he recovered under the influence of the absolute death mode, and using all his strength, he broke through the girl's barrier with his blades and charged the weapon from both sides of her head. Naruto rejoiced at the victory and sat on the throne, which stood behind the one who had just been defeated. Not knowing the effect of the throne, he fell asleep, an eternal sleep. Now he can only wake up when a threat to the world or his body comes, but the goddess recovered. It's not for nothing that she is the goddess of death. She slowly walked up to Naruto and sat on his lap, from that moment on not allowing anyone to disturb his sleep in the second way, through the threat of the body. Now the world had two guardians.